And good evening, I'm Jonathan Higgins.
I'm Rich Carlson.
I'm Phil Lichtenberger.
And we are the Scanner Guys. Good evening to you all. We have Phil on again for another show. We're going to be talking about SDRs. What's that, Rich?
Oh, I forgot to mute my tabs.
Okay. I saw you. I thought you had something that you needed to say urgently.
Yeah, no, I just forgot to mute my tabs. That's me.
Okay. So tonight we're going to be talking to Phil about SDRs. So we're going to be talking about that. Some of you may not have used it. We're definitely going to give you a great overview on that. We're going to discuss that and so much more. Maybe kind of look back at some of the things that have not happened this year. We haven't had a new scanner. Maybe we could talk about what's on our bucket list for a new scanner if it ever comes out. Let's go through some of our welcome slides while we get ready for the show. As always, the Scanner Guys are brought to you by Scanner Master. And make sure you subscribe to the Scanner Master newsletter. Sign up at the website, scannermaster.com. That's scannermaster.com for the newsletter. And don't forget to buy your Scanner Guys swag. You can order that online at the scannerguys.weebly.com. That's scannerguys.weebly.com. Make sure you order your Scanner Guys swag. That helps to support the great programming here for the Scanner Guys program each and every Wednesday night live right here on YouTube. And without further ado, let's bring in Phil and talk to him about SDRs. So, Phil, how long have you been using SDRs?
Oh, you know what? I wish I did my homework and I would have had an answer for you. It's been a while. I got started with these things a couple of years back when they were flaky back then. When I got started, it was one of these deals that, if you wanted to use an SDR, you really had to, hunt out the information and go through the weeds basically to figure out which one you wanted to pick up and how to configure it and how to set it to the right frequency, because these things were they were kind of bubblegum and duct tape kind of technology.
Yeah.
They weren't made to be what they eventually turned into, and
they weren't nearly as polished as they are now.
No, not at all. But yeah, it's been a couple years.
So this is definitely, an SDR would be definitely something that somebody that has to be somewhat computer savvy in order to be able to operate this. This is not.
That used to be the case.
It's a lot easier at this point.
Yeah,
it's a whole lot easier now. Yeah, you could be up and running in an afternoon now at this point. It's really a couple hours is all you really need just to get set up, and most of it is just software installation and that kind of stuff. So. Yep.
Yeah, the hardware can't be easier. It's a USB plug on one side and an antenna jack on the other, and then it's all software.
Yep. So the
antenna jack makes all the difference too. Not to cut you off, Jonathan, but
go ahead.
It used to be an MCX connector. So if you really wanted to put an external antenna, it was like, oh great, I have none of those in my junk drawer.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So it recently became an SMA connection, which is more industry standard.
Well, I wouldn't say more recently, but after traction started to grow underneath the SDRs. Well, let's back it up. You want to do a quick history on everything?
Sure.
Yeah. So I have them over there off camera. I can't get them from here without leaving you guys. But the original, exactly. Don't look. It's a mess. Which is why you don't look in behind the curtain.
I thought that was the sheet from your bed.
No, the pee stain's not there.
Oh, okay.
Oh dear.
Reminds me, was that Billy Madison, right? Was that the Water Boy, where he's got the sheet hanging up and
oh yeah.
We're up to a good start tonight. So the original take on these was somebody figured out that they could take these DVB TV dongles and they were able to manipulate the chipset in there and open it up so that instead of receiving just in the TV band, they could control the driver. Basically, they built their own driver around it. And all of a sudden, now you can tune these TV dongles to anywhere that it would receive. And what ended up happening was they, again, like I'm saying, they weren't meant to be used in this fashion. Somebody just realized that, hey, this will work. And you used to buy these TV dongles, these DVB TV dongles, for about the same price you're buying a USB stick these days. And it'd come with a remote control, and it would come with a little antenna. And they were wide. You couldn't put two of them next to each other in a USB port unless you had something like, where'd they go? Something like this. This was these are USB extensions, and I'll get into these in a little bit. Or you'd have to have a USB hub that had enough space on it, and of course you kind of run these things, one plugged in, one's missing, one plugged in, one missing, and they were prone to get hot. They were prone to begin to drift frequencies. So as going back to the days of being like a tube radio, where the tubes would warm up and the radio would start drifting as it would the elements would heat up. The same thing would happen with an SDR. So you'd come in and you'd tweak it and you'd be on frequency, then you'd leave, and then something would happen. You had to come back, you'd tweak it again. So it made life interesting. You really had to know what was going on. And it's a part per million thing. So you can tweak it, but if you tweak it for like VHF, you'd have to retweak it if you took it up to 800, because the part per million calculation changes. Your raw frequency even that much further. So it was really cool back in the day to say, hey, and you just start buying these things, right? I went nuts. I bought too many of them at that time because I was worried that somebody was going to say, hey, these receive where they shouldn't be receiving, and these are kind of like deserialized weapons type of thing. You know what I mean? That you can't. There's no regulation behind it. There's no nobody's stopping anybody from doing anything with them, right?
Yeah, no certification and stuff like that.
Exactly, and again, they were built for DVB, right? So it wasn't even was it ATSC that we use here in the States,
right?
So even if you bought these in stateside, you couldn't use them for what they were made for, because there was no TV broadcast that was set up for that. You were only buying them for one thing over here, and it was cool. I mean, it really opened the doors for a lot of different things, and it was immediately after that once I started playing around with those. And again, too, your bandwidth on them is tiny, right? 2.4 megahertz or something like that in the sweep. And then I went out and bought one of these things right afterwards. This is an Airspy, and again, the size of this thing is ridiculous compared to the size of some other things. But this does 10 megahertz in a sweep, so you can do a lot more. And we'll talk about later on some of the things you can really do with these things. But so that's kind of the roadmap. What happened was, it was like with anything else, right? The horse led to the horseless carriage, which led to NASCAR. If you want to go that route. Again, these TV dongles really opened the door for a lot of things, and eventually opened the door for things like this.
Yeah. The ultimate SDR.
Yeah,
you can say that.
Yeah,
the ultimate SDR in a handy, simple to use device.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, my buddy Ted, he was into those DVB SDRs, and I had no interest in that whatsoever. But he had a couple of those, and he loved them. He was really getting into them for a while, and they were just that. It was an experimental, fly by the seat of your pants type of situation back then. But he had a ball with it, and he did some pretty great stuff with it.
We keep cutting off Jonathan.
No, I'm right here. That's okay.
We don't care about Jonathan.
We're not going to let him.
He just runs the board. We'll do all the talking.
But yeah, that is really cool. That it basically was something that was meant for something else, and then was able to figure out a different purpose for it, and that's super cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I can
that's what the radio hobby is all about.
Yeah. I mean, that is pretty awesome. I mean, just to think of that, it was something, to be able to monitor television, and ended up being what it is today. I mean, that's super neat.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it started out. And then, so the last one that you showed us is when it became commercialized and made to operate the way it should. Is that right?
I don't know if it was officially this unit here that allowed it to happen. I know this is one of the earlier ones I bought. I know when I bought this, it was, I'm finally making the investment to use this. Whereas the DVB dongles, or even these new elect, which I recommend. You've got the RTL-SDR blog.
Yeah.
Rich. Yeah. So they're all the same. They're all based off the same chipset. They're basically the same thing recased for different reasons. I prefer these. The price point is sub $30. It comes with antennas, but the footprint on it is nothing more than basically the width of the USB. And there we go.
Yeah. It's not much bigger than a thumb drive,
Exactly. And that plays a lot of points. But again, kind of these are a spin-off of it's, think of it as the grandparents to this would have been your ICOM PCR 100s, the 1000s, the 1500s, the 2500s, right?
Yeah.
It was a radio that you needed to plug into your computer in order to use the radio functionality. The hardware external to your computer did all of the magic that turned RF into something you can listen to. Whereas these SDRs are still the interface between the air and the computer. The differences are that like the PCR 1000 or the 100 and all that stuff is that those have speakers in them, right? So they are really more true radios than these are. Those go through FCC approvals. They are radios. They're type accepted, the whole deal. There's no audio in these things, right? These are just tuners. These are dumb devices that basically just take RF in and pass it to something else. This is just it's a black box. It's a go-between.
Yeah.
Your computer is doing the entire legwork on everything. So whether you have it listening to your local traffic tower for the airport, or you have it listening to shortwave radio and listening to sideband, or if you're taking P25 or DMR, right? Whereas on an ICOM, the PCR 1000 or something like that, that radio has to be able to use that technology. It's got to be able to do sideband. It's got to be able to do DMR or P25, right? In order for it to come into the computer to be able to listen to. Your computer is just the tuner. It's the front end interface. Whereas with these SDRs, your computer is everything. It controls the whole deal. And we teased on it before, whether you only have 2.4 megahertz on these things, or like this one here, if you can support it, you have 10 megahertz. When you start playing around with some of the software, you really open up the capabilities of this. Like you can have multiple tuners calling the same USB stick. Yeah. You can tune 2 frequencies, 3 frequencies, 4 frequencies, even more at the same time on one of these. So if you were monitoring a trunk system, instead of having one scanner listening to one talk group, or one SDR listening to one talk group, you can actually have the control channel and multiple talk groups going off the same receiver, as long as they fall within the same footprint. That's why you start seeing devices like the Airspy, or people just stacking these. I mean, I'm looking at, to be honest with you, my project after, with the break coming up for me, I'm looking at building a new computer, because my computer is 7 years old, Windows 7, magic number, right? It's on its last leg. I need a new computer. Well, part of my, are we gonna go drink for drink tonight, Rich?
I got 4 more bottles after this one, so.
Well, I only got the one. I don't want my teeth floating.
I just have the one as well, but it's pretty big.
But you're gonna recycle yours. But the difference is that with the new computer I'm trying to build, is that I know I'm going to need at least, I'm looking at a dozen of these things, 12 of these things up and running, plus 2 of these things going, plus my entire scanner stack running on ProScan. I know that these are the things, and this is just what I'm going to run today. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to run five years from now, but it's amazing that for the it used to be, all right, if I'm going to monitor something with Unitrunker or something, I have to tap my scanner, and I have to dedicate that scanner, and I have to spend at least $100 on a scanner, wired in myself with a sound card, nonetheless, right?
Yeah.
Now for $30 and a USB hub, you could start building these mega machines that will just bring everything in. I mean, you can monitor, and I'm looking at monitoring. Like our local EDAX system is starting to sunset, right? Because EDAX is end of life. Right. And the county is spending resources now to build out their P25 system. Well, they went from 2 500 megahertz simulcast sites. Now they've got 2 700 sites on top of that, and they've got an 800 system on top of that. All right, cool. What's going on between all the layers? Well, that's I lost count, 5 layers right there.
Right.
All
well,
right,
you can also take it the other way around. Instead of building this big mega thing with all these dozens of SDRs, you can get one SDR and a Raspberry Pi and use that as a single site receiver for something. I mean, that's what a lot of Broadcastify feeders are doing. They're running a Pi with an SDR. That the place that does the airport and air traffic control radio, I can't remember the name of it. Live ATC. That's what they do. They have a Pi and an SDR, and they stick them all, near the airports, and they work great.
Yep, they do. And
little box.
But again, we're looking at $65 now. So now you're looking at $65 plus $30. You're at $90 right there. So yeah, you can do that. And that's part of the hobby. That's what you can do next. And with OP25, we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. I mean, there are things that you can do with these SDRs that are really shaking up the market. And I know, Jonathan, I'm just going to ramble on here for a little bit too, but you talked about wish lists, right, for future scanners. In my podcast, I had talked about about a year ago when we talked about the new decade, right? If we all knew what was going to happen in January, right, when I released that, I would have completely changed what we were going to say. But I had my predictions, right? I talked about the last 10 years of the scanner radio hobby, and I was starting off my first episode of last year with what are my predictions for the next 10 years. And I went through, how the hobby has evolved in 10 years. It was amazing how fast things have changed in 10 years. With the introduction of the Home Patrol and the TRX series that used the radio reference database, or TRX, but you know what I'm saying, those types of radio. Bringing in the DMA type of scanner and the object-oriented scanning. We didn't have these things 10 years ago.
No.
Well, if you look at where we're at now, I mean, you've got Whistler, you've got Uniden. You're going to have some guy in his garage doing just like they used to do with Apple or something else. And this guy is out there, and he's going to make his own radio. And there's somebody out there, I forget the name of it off the top of my head, and somebody is going to say it in the chat. I know you are. But there is somebody out there that makes a box now. Think PCR 1000s, but it's built around this. And it's a P25 radio. Again, it slaves off of your computer, but it's completely built around these SDRs. But I see that somebody's going to build an SDR that's handheld and to compete with the SDS 200.
Right.
Because what licensing are you going to have? You run something like OP25, you run an SDR in there, and they have these SDRs. They have micro ones that are half the size of this.
Yeah.
And
they're getting smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, exactly. And if you
the
have
biggest problem right now with these things is getting rid of the heat. It's how you disperse the heat.
Yeah. Exactly. But again, you have a Raspberry Pi with a touchscreen on it, with one of these running behind it. All of a sudden now you've got yourself a handheld true SDR receiver that somebody can either license or with plans and I just see that becoming something big is going to happen in the market. And I think SDR is the next. And you look around too, people are getting involved with SDRs through all these different things, not just the scanner radio hobby. I think the SDR is allowing people to discover the SDR hobby because you could do so many different things with these things. And a lot of people they don't know what they're doing with. It's the wrong way of saying it. They're getting involved. They're discovering the hobby, and they're learning about it because they don't understand coax or antennas or frequencies. And part of the process of going through and discovering what an SDR can do, and they're being introduced. There it is. Glenn's got it. The P25RX from Blue Tail Technologies. That is that's where I think the hobby is going to go. I mean, it's. And we're all in a good spot right now to get started with SDR because even though SDR has been around, I don't know, at least 5 years, you're still ground floor because there's still so much happening, and people are still using the basic software that just came out, and a lot of the software is still the same software that was out. Some of it, like SDR Trunk, went through a complete overhaul.
Yeah.
I mean, I spent an entire weekend trying to get that piece of software going and was never really that successful. Now, all of a sudden, you can be up and running in 15 minutes and feeding it to the internet.
And the nice thing about it is that the prices on this stuff are still so small and still low that almost anybody can get into it. Most of the software is free or shareware, or freeware.
Well, there is license, like
there's
DSDPlus
some of it,
license,
some of it is, but it's reasonably cost, and you get these things for like $25-$30 on Amazon or elsewhere, and even the good ones. The SDR Play and Airspy and stuff like that, they're not that expensive.
No, there are some expensive ones out there, but it's not, but that's when you get into it. I mean, you can dip your toe in the water for $30 and you could basically build yourself one of these on your computer. I mean, not physically because you can't carry your computer around as easily, but if I could take my STS-200 out, it'd be the same thing. But it's a great way of getting into this part of the hobby, and you said dirt cheap. I mean, and that's the problem though. You start buying too many, and all of a sudden you clean the desk out, and you find you have a bag full of them somewhere.
It's like when I was still working, I ended up with like dozens of different thumb drives all over the place, because I'd come up with a different thumb drive, and I'd have a drawer full of them at the end of the day, and I'd have to figure out which one has the files I needed. Now with the SDR, you start collecting them. I mean, I've got a handful of them right here, and I just don't have enough time to play with them all.
Okay, so
that's exactly right.
So for our viewers tonight, most of them have scanners. A lot of them haven't dipped their toe into the SDRs. How is this a valuable tool for them to use along with their scanner? What would, what should they, to start with an SDR, what should they do first? And how would it assist them with scanning?
Well, let's talk about how it would assist them with scanning. Let's keep this appetizer coming for a little bit, right?
Okay.
So how would I use this if I was looking at a scanner?
Okay.
Well, we're all dealing with simulcasts mostly now, or it's being rolled out. Right? A lot of people are finding that to be a problem. So let's think we're walking around and we've got, I don't know, TRX-1, right? I just grabbed that because it's handy. And then we've got a 325 P2 with us, and we got a 436 HP. These are the only radios we have. Do I really want to spend $650 on another scanner? I don't know, right? Because is simulcast really an issue, or am I missing? Because you don't know you're missing things unless you find out you're missing things, right? What's the old expression? You don't know what you don't know, right?
So it's kind of what you're saying here is you could find out without spending the big bucks right off the bat.
Right. So you can use software like Unitrunker. Unitrunker allows you to graphically view what's going on a trunk system control channel. It works on EDAX, Motorola Type 2, Motorola P25. It won't help you on DMR. We can talk about that in a second.
Okay.
But what it will allow you to do is at least see the control channel and then see the talk groups that are showing up. And then you can look at that. And again, that's free software. And now you can look at your radio and you can say, well, my radio's not making any sounds. Why am I not receiving anything? But you'll see activity, and it's valid activity because not only will you see the talk group, but you'll see the source radio ID, user ID, and then you'll see the information changed. As somebody else responds, you'll see the reply in another user ID, and you'll see everybody who's on the system, right? You'll see every single voice channel being laid out because all you're doing is you're just watching the. And again, I like to say that the control channel is like the conductor, right? In an orchestra. He's you go over here, you come back to me, right? He's traffic control. He's telling everybody where to go. And that's what you're watching. You're just basically listening to him telling everybody what to do. If your scanner is not responding to that, and it's a P25 scanner, you have an issue. You're missing the transmissions that you should be receiving. If it's P25, you now know, okay, I may have a problem now with this. Now my scanner, my computer, guys, for everybody who doesn't, my computer crashed and now it's rebuilding itself. So now all of a sudden it wants to verify Microsoft Outlook, which I haven't used in about 3 years. So this should be interesting. So if I start burping and chirping, that's why. So it's good for that.
That was the pizza from last night.
I just had a slice now, so I could do that.
Wow, that is really awesome. To be able to see all that, and then that your scanner is clearly missing transmissions.
Exactly. And again, too, I've done the exact same thing as because I had an SDS 100 with me, and I've seen this happen. I went to a county over that's got a simulcast system. I brought the TRX1, the 325, the 420, 436, and the SDS, and of course my Unication. And wouldn't you know that the TRX1, the 3 and the 325 were mute the whole time. They did not respond to any voice channel. You'd see them go, but they come back right away.
Yeah.
The 436 was okay, but the Unication device and the SDS 100 was just going gangbusters. It was receiving. So again, those are built around SDRs. So you can see how that will work. Or another idea would be just even searching the bands, right? Say you're into mil-air or federal scanning,
Okay.
and you want to know what's out there. You could actually set up a spectrum sweep, right? Depending how large it's. So like this is where the Airspy comes in handy. Because again, you got 10 megahertz here. So you can monitor something like, just pick a part of the band and you just watch it. And you have the whole 10 megahertz sitting right there. And you have a waterfall display right below that. What the waterfall display shows you is it's a thematic map, basically. When you have a spike on a frequency, you'll see that you have a spike on the waterfall. And when that spike goes away, you still have that heat mark on the waterfall to say, hey, there was something here. And then you can keep watching. You can say, okay, this is there's activity here. And maybe then you could tune it on your scanner and listen to it. Or you can tune into it with the SDR. Or maybe you are trying to decode a brand new DMR system, something that requires logical channel numbering, right? Think old EDAX and all that stuff, LTR, right? You've got to know where everything is. This could be fun for some people, but it's also a nightmare for other people, right? Because then you have two radios going. You've got one on the control channel waiting to go to and you've got one scanning or scanning through all the voice channels that you've defined. Well, with an SDR, you just look at the spectrum sweeper. And as soon as you know that somebody's going to a voice channel, you just, whoop, where's the spike?
Yep.
And then you know that's where it's mapped. So it brings a lot to using using it, enhancing it with a scanner. It's another blade in your Swiss Army knife type of deal.
Yeah.
But it really can help you and tell you, is it time to invest or is there something else going on here? So they're really cool.
And those aren't the only type of SDRs. There are other types of devices that people don't realize they're SDRs. So if you've got an AirNav radar box, this is an SDR. It's just a little bit more polished. It's got a couple of neat lights and it's a single task, but it basically is an SDR. It's got a USB port and an antenna port, and it runs on dedicated software to display air traffic control signals, or ADSB. The position of aircraft relative to where you are, and that's all it is. It's an SDR. In fact, the newer versions are just basically a small size SDR, and to do everything that this has. So this one is just an SDR with RF circuitry specific to the ADSB frequency range. And I mean, they work great for its designed purpose. And there are other devices out there like that. Now the SDS 100 kind of takes it to the extreme, because that is an SDR with a scanner built around it. But there are other products like that out there. There's the competitor to AirNav, which I'm trying to remember the name of it off the top of my head, but there are others. And are you aware of any other devices like that?
Box, I think it said. There's a ton of them out there. There's Lime SDR. There's Kerbos SDR, which is really cool because it's got multiple receivers in it, so you can do radio direction finding. People are using SDRs for radar, passive radar, and they're able to. They have two Yagi antennas, right? One set up at like a known, which is like an FM radio station, and then they point the other one downtown to see the traffic, and you can actually get the propagation delay between the two receivers and figure out how many cars or how congested an area is by the signal that bounces off the cars.
Yeah.
I got sidetracked. I'm sorry, guys, but you were asking another question. It just because it brought some more things to my memory.
Yeah.
But there's websites out there really dedicated to this. The RTL-SDR that you got. What's the brand on that one? he's got a website, and it's all
Yeah.
like all the news on SDRs and who's coming out with all this other new stuff, and
Right.
yeah. So that's a good site to plug. I just can't remember the name of it right now.
Yeah, it's RTL-SDR.com, and I was there earlier today. Yeah, and he does have a lot of good information about that. And for people who are interested to see what the inside of it is, there's not much. There's a couple ICs, a couple capacitors, and a bunch of surface mount components, and that's pretty much it. You know, all the hardware. Yeah, yeah, and it does get hot. That metal case does get warm, so I think my fingerprints are burned into the case of this one. So, yeah, it took a week to get the blisters off my fingers. So, but yeah, they do get warm. They are a relatively simple device inside. Even the larger ones, like the SDR Play. There's not a whole lot inside the case. It's just a board with some discrete components, a bunch of ICs, an antenna connection, and a USB port. This is another one. This is the Watson. I don't have a picture on the screen, but this is the Watson. It's a little bit more involved. It's got two SMA connectors for antenna. You can switch between them, and it's actually got two USB ports on it. So it allows you to do a little bit more stuff, but yeah, there's a bunch of them out there that you can that you can
and there's
play
even
with.
some too that not only receive but transmit, so you can use them, for all different functions. Yeah, it's
some of the new ICOM ham radios are SDR based.
I was just gonna say that.
beat ya.
You did. I gave you the floor.
You did. Thank you very much. Yeah. What is it? The 7600 or 7300, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's making its way, and again, you got DSP now because of it, and great filtering and the whole deal. I mean, it's amazing how this is really starting to become part of what radios are today.
Yeah. Do you see Glenn's question there?
Yeah, we'll pull that up.
Should I go, Glenn?
He'll bring it up on the screen. There he is. Any disadvantages of the Neo Mini versus the regular Neo?
I don't know. I haven't really heard. I've only played around with the full size. I thought about buying the mini one. I was actually gonna do a project with it, but I haven't played around with the mini. Again, I would think the only difference would be heat dissipation on it, to be honest with you.
Right.
So, but I haven't really heard that anything was any pros or cons one way or the other with them.
Yeah. Chris answered our question about the ICOMs. The 7300 and the 7610 are SDR based. So yeah, I understand the 7300 is like one of the most popular, and he says it's the top selling HF rig. So that makes sense. And again, that's the direction things are headed. And there are a lot of other SDR based radios. So when I was at Dayton, obviously not last year, but the year before, the SDR based ham radios are the new big thing, and that's the new garage industry as well. You get these little companies that are making these things in their garages, and that's how like Apple Computers started and Microsoft started back in the days when people were experimenting with computers. Now they're experimenting with radios and building things around SDRs, and you can do a lot with that.
So this is definitely the future. This could open up this, as you were mentioning earlier, Phil, the two competitors could get a third party coming in, swooping in, giving them a run for their money.
That's my prediction. That's where I really feel like this is going to go. Somebody's just going to come in here and say, "Hey, look what I got for like $100." Or I'm not going to put a price point, but basically, you're looking at something that is at a certain level, and somebody's going to come in there and just kick the legs out from underneath that part of the industry.
What about commercial radio? Are there any commercial radios you're aware of that are SDR based? Like obviously Unications I don't think are SDR based, but things like Motorola or Kenwood or any of those commercial two-way radio companies, are they coming out with any SDR based equipment that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of.
I figure it's just a matter of time, probably.
Yeah. I mean, again, too, a lot of those radios too are getting to be multi-band and multi-mode and all this other stuff. But again, as technology changes too, you can do more with that footprint also. So, yep.
So Glenn says he's using two minis and they're working great. So,
nice.
Yeah. So thank you, Glenn, for your help on that. So.
And this is in summary, basically, it's an easy, inexpensive entry level to get stuff, pretty much.
Yep. So, Greg, that's a great question, and I'd love to keep teasing this for a little bit, but I do actually have a kit I've put together. I have to look at if it's still a valid kit, but I'm going to have more information on that. I'm actually building a course. A lot of people know if you listen to the podcast or they've seen me on my own YouTube channel and stuff. I've been teasing for quite a bit of time that I do have a SDR training course that I'm in the middle of putting together, and I haven't even said anything yet to my own audience over at Scanner School. You guys are the first to see it. So I did release the course, so to speak. You can go and sign up for it right now. It's a free course. It's basically the ultimate beginner's guide to software-defined radio. Everything you need to know to get started in an afternoon with software-defined radios. So if you go to courses.scannerschool.com, it's going to redirect you over to the course page. And if my computer didn't crash last night, I would have had a welcome video to say, hey, welcome, thank you for showing up. But I wasn't able to get that far with it. But if you go there, right now it's just a starter page as I'm getting the final touches put onto everything. So you can go there and get set up, and then when the course is finally dripped into there, you'll have it right away. But it's going to tell you what you have to buy, from having absolutely nothing on your plate to which SDRs to look at, why I recommend them. And some of the accessories you'd want to buy too. Like again, we talked about before these extensions, right? And I know, Jim, you're on here. We had an issue with if I have the right Jim, I may not, but there's a Jim that's out east here, Long Island, and he was using, when he took my course, when I did it live, I did a live workshop with it. And we couldn't get his SDR to work. We couldn't really figure out why. He goes, oh, it works great in my wife's computer. It doesn't work at all here. And it turned out that his computer must have been made by Uniden, the same people that made the design case. I'm just saying with the SDS 100. It had a piece of plastic that went over the port that prevented you from plugging in the SDR into the USB port. So I'm just picking fun at the, I really shouldn't, but everybody knows it's got that piece that comes up that prevents you from using at the market antennas on the SDS 100. But so that's where these came in, right? That's where it was like, okay, just pick up a couple of these because you never know. And again, it takes some of the stress off of the port, or using the USB hub. So I have all my recommendations for that, and we'll go through. Okay, this is what I recommend you buy. If you don't have it already, if you have other USBs, other SDRs, great. We can. I'm going to show you how to do it with this hardware, but you can follow along with your own hardware because everything kind of flows. And we'll sit down there and we'll go through, what software to download. Would be the first thing, right? Before you plug the hardware in, let's go ahead and download the driver. Let's install the driver. Then let's plug in the USB port. Now let's go ahead and configure the SDR. Beautiful. That's the end of a lesson. Next lesson. Let's download the software, the free software. Let's take a tour of it. Let's set up the software. Good. Now you're receiving something. End of lesson. Next part of the lesson. So it's going to walk you through. And the whole point of doing it on something that's on a teaching platform as opposed to doing it on YouTube is because we know that YouTube is made for people that are like squirrels, right? Like everybody else there. They are very good at posting the next video that it thinks you should watch based on an algorithm, recommending new videos. You can get videos that are outside of a playlist, and now you're all of a sudden stuck with something in the middle. Or a video, you may not be able to find the video. So putting it off of YouTube and onto a course platform allows you to not only follow along, but put checkboxes as you finish the step. And you'll
put
get
it in the right order.
Exactly. But as you cycle through it, you'll see how far of a progress you've made in the journey of getting from nothing to somewhere. You'll also be able to put your own notes in. So as you're taking the course, you could put your own note in the course notes themselves, and you can go back to it at any time and see where something's changed. And again, if something does change and something is improved, or I recommend a different product, I can go back in there and replace just that one video instead of having to then get rid of that YouTube video that's had, how many shares and likes or people have bookmarked, and you can't replace that video with something that's been updated. You got to tell everybody, hey, well, subscribe to my channel and do that.
Yeah.
At least when it's inside of a course, it's all contained. And it also allows you to ask questions and, like I said, take notes, but also follow the workflow. And it's multi-device. You can watch it on your computer. You can watch it on a phone, on your iPad or your Galaxy tablet, whatever it is you use. So if you're commuting or you need a refresher, you can always go back and just find just that one piece that you needed help with and just go back and do that. Say you got a new USB dongle and all of a sudden the drivers got kicked out. I just need to remember where the drivers were. You can go right back to that one module really quickly and find it, and then go ahead and just do that one part if you need to go and have a refresher on there. And that's why I'm doing it on a course. So it's I'm very
a good logical, a good logical procession right through it, and you can follow along with it. You can go back if you need to do something and you forgot, or you need to go back and get refreshed on it. It's all there. So that's a great concept. I like that.
Yep, and it's free right now. So that part of it is all free, and there's going to be more to it, right? I mean, I've got a list. Like, you start writing on the first square of the toilet paper, and before you know it, you need a second roll. There's a lot that I want to put into this. So there is a free part of it, and there will be. Disclaimer: there will be a paid part because there's going to be a lot that's going to be involved with putting it together. But it's up to you, right? I mean, just to get you started and get you running and get you working on something that you can enjoy, and at the end of the free course, you'll have a radio that you can tune to stuff and actually start using and building the pieces of the puzzle. And that's the point. I mean, I just want to at least, get everybody going and introducing SDRs to everybody, because again, this is where it's going to be at. I mean, this is really
let's look at some real life applications for some of these SDRs. I've got a friend of mine lives out here in the Valley who is very much into SDRs. He uses these and a couple similar type devices, and he's big with the Unitrunker program. And he uses these small SDRs not only at home, but he's got it set up on his laptop, and he'll go out in the field to check out sites that he can't pick up from home. And, looking for new radio IDs, looking for new sites. We've got a couple new trunking systems that are being built out in this area. And between he and I, we've mapped out a good chunk of it using Unitrunker, Pro 96 Com, et cetera, et cetera. And he does it with these SDRs. And he'll have two SDRs plugged into his laptop. They got little whip antennas on them, and he'll go out and sit on a site for half an hour, collect some data, and then go out to another site, collect some data for half an hour. And it's been working awesome for him. So Joe, if you're out there, that's what he's doing.
Yep. And again, there's a lot you can do with it. So for example, I mean, I'm going to start. So in my last podcast of 2020, I talk about searching, right? And I like to coin the phrase, the secrets are in the searches, right? Look at this, I got a hair sticking up here. Part of what I've got
a hair habit, I think, someplace.
Yeah, at least I have hair. Is I like to say the secrets are in the searches, because there's more to scanning than just hitting scan. I mean, obviously it's this name of the hobby. Yeah. But there's more out there than just putting in what you can get online, right? There's more to be discovered, and the secrets are definitely in the searches. So what I did was I set up an SDR here, and I had these bouts where I can't sleep. And I went through one of those weeks over the summer, and this is the same story. So if you guys listen to the podcast the last week of the year, it's the same story I've told in there. So now you guys get a preview. But I talked about how I was looking through my SDR, and I had the spectrum up, and I started seeing a spike, and I'm like, well, it's in the federal band. What is that? So I tune into it, and I'm using DSDPlus. Now, DSDPlus is free, and it's also commercial or donationware, right? Highly recommend paying for DSDPlus. It's one of those you will not regret type of. It's $25 for a lifetime license, right? Yeah. And again, it allows you to monitor DMR, NXDN, P25, Yaesu Fusion, I think even D-Star, if you've got the D-Star IMBE dongle that you can use with it as well. But it really is a cool piece of software. And again, even DSD Plus, that used to be something you had to run with was CYG Win or something like that in the old days. You had to install a Linux part to Windows to get it to run this piece of software. And now it just runs in Windows. It's a self-executable file, and it's off and running to the races. So again, this is all things that changed. Going back to the story now. This is why I get nothing done, guys. I'm all over it. So I'm looking at the spike on here, and I'm looking, okay, it's the federal band. So I tune it in, it's DMR, right? And I'm listening to it. And of course, DSD Plus is showing me the color code and the unit IDs and the talk group ID. And I'm getting all information instantaneously on the screen. So, okay, I can log that in, the 40, whatever, that, whatever. Talk group is this. Now I'm listening to it. Okay, it sounds like they're sorting something. What are they doing? Then it dawns on me, wait a second, this is a postal sorting facility. And as I'm listening to it, I'm okay. Yeah, it's definitely a postal facility. So I jump on Radio Reference and I punch in the frequency, and wouldn't you know it, it's Postal Police in New York City, P25. No, it's not. This is DMR, and it's not PD activity. This is sorting activity. Again, it's 3 a.m. in the morning, right?
Yeah.
This is really active right now, which is when you would expect people to be sorting through their mail, right? I had a conversation with Chris Paris, who writes for the Spectrum Monitor. He does the Fed files, and he confirmed with me. He goes, you've noticed as he was traveling that a lot of the postal frequencies are dual technology now, P25 for the PD, but DMR for a lot of the other stuff that happens on there. So he basically confirmed what I was expecting, and I wouldn't have found that, first of all, if I was sleeping, but second of all, I wouldn't have found that if I didn't have my SDR up on, and all I was doing was just hitting the page button, skipping ahead, and I'd sit there for a little bit. But not only that, but when I got into I guess it was a 390 or something like that, I discovered that there was a trunk system in the Fed system too that I was like, where did this come from? It's P25 trunking in the middle of the 390s or whatever it is. And it was, oh man, what's the, there's an academy up on the Hudson River that I can, something point.
West Point.
West Point. There you go.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that it was a trunk system that was actually there because I'm listening to the rounds.
Yeah.
And they were calling in the clear. Or I assumed somehow I confirmed it was. I looked up the frequency or the NAC code. I think I looked at the NAC code and it brought me up to that system. But again, it's often and Glenn's right. It was right there in that range, DMR, Glenn. It's something again I wouldn't have found if it wasn't for me searching through with DSD Plus. Something else I've done with DSD Plus too is sometimes you get bored listening to the same stuff over and over again, right? And you just want to know what's out there. So I just parked DSD Plus on the local NXDN system. So I never listened to it.
Yeah.
And a lot of the NXDN systems are the business trunking, right? Where LTR is now sunsetting. These systems are being replaced at the radio shops either by NXDN networks or DMR networks. Some radio shops are splitting themselves right down the middle and are doing DMR and NXDN because now they've got more resources to work with, same number of frequencies, but their value, right, is increased. And I started listening to these NXDN systems. I start noticing all these school buses start showing up. And NXDN is cool because if a radio is alpha tagged, it's actually broadcast out. So you can start seeing who's where and who's what. Yeah. And again, it's something I would never have listened to on my scanner, even though I have the NXDN upgrade to them. It was just cool because it was just a whim. It was a whim, right? And I just dropped in the control channel and it started listening to it. And some of the activity we were picking up was, I mean, it's I'm stuck in traffic, or tell Billy I want to be late, or get somebody else to run my route for me. But it's different, and it's very easy just to move things around. And even DSD Plus these days have gotten a lot better with how it works. Now you can start loading in control channels. You can start making favorites lists up. And instead of just saying, I have to remember what the control channel was. No, you set up all the control channels and you just recall that site and that system, then the site you want to monitor. And DSD Plus takes care of the rest. It's still a flat file, basically a text-based file that you have to edit in order to populate the stuff. But the GUI is getting better and better.
Yeah.
And even with the upgrades, it used to be an emailed upgrade. You have to put a key in. No, now you buy it, you get your key, you press discover upgrade. It says, oh, there's an upgrade. You got to remember that key to unzip everything. But it's progressing and things are moving in the right direction with this hobby. Again, like I said before, in order to get DSD Plus running years ago, it was. I mean, sometimes I think I'd rather throw lemons in my eye or something like that. Some of the stuff was very terrible to get up and running, and now it's so much.
Do self dentistry is going to be a lot more fun than that. So
I was actually going to say I pulled my own teeth out, but that's a little gory.
What about some of the historic SDRs? One of the first commercial SDRs, if you want to call it, and I would assume that you would have to call it that. Remember the old opto electronics devices? They had that standalone receiver called the
Optocom, right?
Optocom, yeah. I had one of those, and with the bit banger, which I thought was a great name for the optional data component of it. And then they had the OS 456 and the OS 535 that would go into the 2006 and 2005 scanners and the 2035s.
And also those Pro, was it the 2036s and all that stuff?
Yeah.
If you got a second, Chris Wilson says Opto Explorer too. There's somebody on eBay right now selling a Pro 2006, and I was going to buy it, but I didn't. And I really am kicking myself right now. I didn't look at it because now I'm going to spill the beans and somebody's going to go out and buy it here. It's an estate sale. If it's still up there, it's a Pro 2006, and somebody did the modification on both sides of the display. They put the LEDs on the side. When you spin the radio around, they've got the accessory jacks. And instead of putting a COM port, they put a SCSI drive port on the back of it to interface with the scanner. And it was $60. $60 for an estate. I mean, the keypad's worn. You have no idea what any buttons in the keypad. But this was somebody that has upgraded their 2006 with the full, right? What Chris is saying, full opto. And I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? I was foaming. I'm like, this is a find. This is a one of those rare finds you can find. And I never went back to see what was still there. But if somebody might be out there lucky and looking for it right now and is probably going to steal it if it's...
it'll be gone tonight, Well, the original Optocom was a great... If you got the bit banger, it was back when EDAX systems were brand new. And there were no EDAX scanners out there. So I got a laptop, a DOS laptop. It was actually a Windows 95 laptop with running in DOS to run this scanner, and it was a great way to map out these EDAX systems that were popping up all over the place. And I was mapping out the brand new state police system with my laptop sitting someplace near one of the towers, and I had the software running. It was called Trunk Track. Yeah.
There you go. It's still up there. Somebody hasn't grabbed it yet.
Yeah. It was called Trunk Track, and I picked the exact right time because all of a sudden I heard a couple guys come up. They're obviously techs, and they were saying, okay, I'm on Patrol North. How does it sound? Okay, great. Then they went to another talk group. Oh, I'm now on Patrol South. How does that sound? And now, so they were identifying each and every channel on that system. And I listened to that for like 4 hours, and I mapped out the entire system. And on the Karma email list the next day, we had the entire talk group list of the state police trunking system before the system was even in operation, and without getting inside information.
Hey, I just showed you guys the picture of that thing. I hit the buy it now button. Yeah. I'm like, all right, I might as well just buy it. I'm talking about it.
Yeah,
right. Oh, you can't buy it. I refresh the screen. Somebody just grabbed it.
All right, so whoever bought it, out yourself on the in the chat and let us know.
Yeah,
congratulations.
You just saved me $80. Thanks. 60 plus shipping. So I hope you use it.
Yeah. So that was a great use of a very early SDR. Those optoelectronics had some pretty neat devices back then. Now this is what, 20 years ago, 25 years ago when those things were out?
The software that was out there too, it still does things that you couldn't do today. Like Probe would allow you to, again, all DOS only, but it would allow 85 plus tax. Chris, did you get it?
That wasn't him. All right, it was somebody else.
I'll give you my address. You could just mail it to me. And it would allow you to do triggers. So if, say, you had activity on, say, just for example, a fire dispatch went out, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could make mini lists that would trigger off of that, and it would then scan maybe just the fireground stuff for a couple minutes, just based off of getting the hit there. So,
I love Probe. That was
do that
great.
Now. You still can't do that kind of thing.
So. I used it to find a new channel for our fire department back then, and I did a search. We were looking for a new VHF channel, so I put in a search of a bunch of VHF range from like 150.995 through like 159.445, wherever the top end of the VHF public safety band is. Searching through there, looking for holes in the band. And so I would do, one day I would search 151, next day I'd search 152, 153, etc., and trying to find channels that did not have hits. And eventually found a new fire channel for our fire department, which they still have today. And that was 25, 30 years ago. And I used Probe to do it with an early SDR.
Right. The granddaddies. Right.
Yeah.
But the Probe and the ICOM radios, and I still got a couple of those ICOM radios. They're great radios, but I don't use them anymore now because who's got it? Somebody's gonna tease me with it and take a picture and they're gonna send it to me. And then I want 160 for it.
Yeah. So, and they'll get it too. So
see, I should have hit the buy it now and then shared it. Hey, I just snagged this. $60. I mean,
well, it wasn't Dale, so.
No. I mean, I bought my 2006 for more than $60, and it didn't have the mods on it. So
yeah. So we should contact the seller and make sure that they give you your 10%.
Yeah, no kidding. Or they'll upcharge you for 10%, and I'll still buy it because it's 10%. $60 is only $6. So it's still keeping the tax.
So, and what other early SDRs were there? There was the R100 and R1000 from ICOM.
No, the R100 was a standard receiver.
Was it?
The IC, right? The IC PCR. It was a PCR
100. Yeah, PCR 100. You're right.
And the PCR 1000, and then it was the PCR 1500.
Right.
And then they had
at least those, you'd set those up with the computer, and then you can use them independently.
Yeah, right. But you still needed the audio still came out of those, right? And it was only like I said before. I think the PCR 100 only did PL code. The 1000 allowed you to do, was it the 1000 allowed you to do DPL finally?
Right.
And then I don't know. I think I have a 100, a 1000, and a 1500, or I stole the 100 or something. I forget. They're over there.
So I don't know if those are true SDRs because they're basically this computer controlled radios versus software defined radios. So like the CompuScan and something else like that, they're really not true SDRs. Whereas I think the OptoScan or the Optocom really was an SDR with a built-in audio amp, because you had to have the computer to actually control it. But the RF circuitry was on board. So,
and again, we can walk this fine line and we can say, well, all the Uniden radios can be controlled by the computer too. So that doesn't make them SDR. So we gotta,
they were
that line.
Yeah, great uncles of the SDR line.
Yeah, Jonathan's falling asleep over there.
No,
yeah, well, you should have been here last week. We went 3 hours last week?
It was 3 hours.
You're not doing that tonight.
No.
I mean, we're already approaching
approaching
1
an hour.
Yeah.
So
just shy of the hour. So okay, Jonathan. So here's something for you. So an SDR, you can actually use an SDR to start monitoring. People are using it to decode for the trains, right? All the what's the term that you guys use in the trains where you monitor the switching and
ATCS.
Yes.
ATCS, right? So people have software around that, and you can feed that information to there and monitor that. And again, you could, whatever comes in, you can kind of look at on the screen as far as raw data as well, right? So I don't know if people are using them to monitor anything else when it comes to rails, but that's I mean, because I know you're into that. That's one way you could use it while you're out, with your rail scanning. when you're on, you can take an SDR and plug it in and send
Yeah.
it to the software. If that line is still using that, because a lot of that stuff is all starting to now go the way of the dodo because they're going over cellular or satellite or whatever else.
Satellite, yeah.
So exactly. That's why I said trains, Chris, because you're losing Jonathan. I had to get the caboose.
Yeah, I mean, you guys just went on into total tear, and unfortunately, I haven't used SDRs, and I'm interested in it. But when you guys
you're
are
really
going way back into DocuServe, like the old operating system, I'm like, okay, this is it's not anything I'm going to use at this point.
Well, I'll tell you what, as a Mac guy, I got pretty good with DOS. Okay. And I mean, it was, you always got this Mac versus Windows thing, but I got pretty good with DOS because I used those devices quite a bit and they work great in DOS, but it's a one trick pony. You can only run one thing at a time in DOS, but it did it very well. And it was a really simple setup. Nowadays with the Windows, I mean, you can run, 25 different programs at the same time in Windows or on a Mac, and run multiple SDRs at the same time, which brings us to Glenn's question, and about using a USB hub with multiple SDRs. Have you had experience doing that?
Yeah, I've set up quite a few using USB hubs, and the trick with that, Glenn, sometimes what you have to do is you have to change the serial number on the SDR, because I think the serial numbers are by default all 000. Oh, we lost him because he fell asleep.
Oh no,
we lost Jonathan.
Wow.
See, now we're off the rails because we have no director.
We weren't talking about trains anymore, so he don't care.
Yep.
No.
Yeah, he's done.
That's the camera. I'm still here.
Picture you in the middle of the woods with the satellite antenna, the uplink, and everything else.
I'm still here. I just lost a video, so I'll have to.
Well, that's good. We were tired of looking at you anyway. Yeah, that crazy haircut you got that you're trying desperately to hide. So, so you can change the serial number because serial numbers in there are basically always 0000001.
Right.
And that's one of the things I addressed in the course too. Is you can rewrite those serial numbers. And I actually set up my own calculator too to try and map them out easier. So you know that if it's going to be like a new elect, it's all like maybe it's 1000001, and then you start going from there. And then if it's an Airspy, you make it a 2000001.
Right.
And then if it's an ADSB, maybe make it a 5000001. This way, the software always picks the right USB stick.
So it's like changing a COM port when you've got 24 radios hooked up to your.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happens. Or if because you said you're a Mac guy, I am a Mac guy as well. I suffer through Windows now with either work or for my radio stuff. But I also got good at Linux, and Linux has the same problem. And stuff like PiOware runs off of a Raspberry Pi, right? And again, if you have now, because I run the ADSB and I run the UAT, I guess UAT is whatever, is the 978. If you don't define in the config file which USB dongle you want to use, the radio is going to grab, or the software is going to grab one of them, and it's going to have a problem grabbing the other one. And now all of a sudden you've got the wrong one, going the wrong antenna and everything else. So when you re-flash the SDR with its own serial number, now you can say 0001 is for my 1090 and 0002 is for my 978, and it's written, and it will always grab those two there.
So you're readdressing the device
basically. And again, you go in there too, because again, we're going back to the old days where these were TV sticks, right?
Yeah.
You can actually, they still have the IR remote receiver in them. So when you're going ahead and you're flashing the EEPROM to change the serial number on it, turn off the IR. You don't need it.
Yeah,
it doesn't do anything for you.
Oh, there you go. So I've got two TVs on my wall that I use to watch rail streams, and when they were two Sonys, I had that same problem because I'd turn on the thing, I'd want to turn off one of them, and then I'd be turn off the one, I'd be turning on the other one if they were both on. One was on and one was off, so it got to be a real problem. I had to make sure they were both off because there's no way to readdress the infrared on the remote.
Right, exactly. So I like Randy's question here too. Randy asks, can you use an SDR for an LCN finder?
Mhm.
And yeah, Randy, we did touch base on that a little bit as an example as how you would use SDR, and I'll go through it again for you as well. Is again, you can run software and either look at the spectrum display, and as you're looking, say, at a DMR system, and you notice that it's sending your radio off to a voice channel you don't have programmed. You can look at the spectrum display and see what the spikes are, and that's when you know, okay, that's that voice channel, and that's how you easily start mapping them out that way. So it really cuts down on the work.
Yeah, I was
he's smiling. He must have done something.
Yeah, I was in producer mode.
In the candy jar.
No, I was in producer mode, and plus I filled my water. I feed you guys this time away.
I thought you were done renting the water.
Yeah, that comes in about 15 minutes.
No, that's depending on how much Rich drinks.
It's like a truck
I
driver,
refilled my ice too.
Well, what do you think I do with my empty bottles?
Exactly. The problem is you drink.
That's why I can get by with a 3-hour shift, is I keep my empty bottles handy just in case.
You got to buy the big gulps there, though.
Yeah. Let's see here. Can you use SDR Sharp to run a wideband scan?
To run a wideband scan, that's a good question there, Chris. So scanning with SDR is kind of a little difficult. There's plugins that come in with SDR Sharp that you can actually make a scanner out of, and I've used it, and it works okay. If you mean like a wideband search, that's what you'd use the waterfall for. So you would put in the limitation of the SDR. So again, like these only have 2.4 megahertz, but an Airspy has 10. And again, you could set up a spectrum display of 10 megahertz, and then it would waterfall basically any spikes that you'd see. So you have a spike on the spectrum. I wish I had pictures, but below it you'd get the heat map of when over time there was a spike there. And again, that's why I found some of the activity in the federal band. And again, you can use the same thing for mil-air. If you know something's going on, or you live in an area, fortunate to live in an area where they do exercises like that, or just in general. And there's Chris again. Chris, how you doing? We were just talking about you earlier.
Continuing with that, people are used to setting up range searches with a conventional scanner, and you can do the same thing with an SDR, I presume.
Right, and you can exactly do that. In fact, I even put on. I tried experimenting with TikTok, and this is a really good example here too. If you're on TikTok or you're on Instagram or anything else, go look at Scanner School there. I actually put a video. If I could get a screenshot for that, if you guys can go grab one of those and put it on the screen, that's a great example right now. I was using the SDR, and I was monitoring the ISS as it flew overhead, and because it just activated the new voice repeater, so a lot of the hams were jumping on there. Yeah. And what I did was I set up the SDR really tight. So I zoomed in on it really well, and you can actually watch the Doppler drift on the SDR. And I stayed right on frequency, but you can see on the water on the waterfall, because it's got the heat signature on it. You can see the actual drift of if it going from high to low as it passed overhead. And again, a lot of people do that too, because a lot of guys are very into monitoring rovers and satellites, and they got really, really high-end setups on these things, but they are picking up stuff from space with their SDRs. There's guys that are experimenting with picking up the NOAA weather satellites directly as they fly overhead or in orbit, and these are all really cool things that you can do with an SDR. Some other cool things we could do too with the SDR is, we talked about the train, right, monitoring the trains, but you can also do, we talked about ADSB, right? What else is aviation related here? ACARS. You can actually watch the ACARS messages. And again, there's not just one frequency on ACARS. There's a whole bunch of them. Yeah. And you could start tuning in, differently with them as well. AITS for monitoring marine traffic, right?
Yeah.
There we go. There's the video, and that's an example. That's a screenshot of SDR sharp ring right there, and you can see the waterfall display right below it, and the heat signature, and of course over there on the left hand side, I'm panning over to where that's Orbitron running right now, and it shows there's my shameless plug on the middle of it, but you can see over time how the frequency is drifting over the center point again. So that bottom part there is the waterfall display, and of course TikTok only lasts you for a minute, so it's just repeating the that over there.
Yeah, and I've done that. I've listened to it on a conventional scanner, and it would kind of come up and it would kind of fade away as it got out of the bandwidth of the scanner. And it is kind of neat to hear that, especially just knowing that you've heard the space station or back in the Challenger day, not the Challenger, but the space shuttle days, to be able to hear the shuttles up there. It's just amazing to be able to hear that.
Yep, and really everything that's out there, as long as there's software for it, the SDR is going to be your best friend.
Yeah.
So again, if you use something like DSDPlus, you can monitor, and I guess NXDN, Yaesu Fusion, DMR, P25.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a couple others in there that Tetra. I think it does Tetra too, if I'm not mistaken, or they're working on at least showing the information on Tetra, if not playing the audio on it. But then you've got you've got other software that does all these other things. Some software we won't talk about because in the States we can't legally listen to it. But there's software out there for those kinds of things. Yeah. There's a lot going on what you can do with SDR because again it's I think it's so new that people haven't really latched on to the potential on it yet. So it's still under the radar of a lot of things. And again, that's what I've been buying. If I find one I like, I buy them because they're cheap. But I don't want to be that guy that goes, oh, this one just broke. I really wish I can get these again. Now, all of a sudden, Amazon's going to be sold out. It's going to be my fault again. Like
I mean,
2006, I just missed on.
The power of the scanner guys.
I mean, we purposely, I purposely not promoted products on Facebook and Twitter and everything, and then promoted it for the first time here when we make it go out of stock. Just by discussing it here.
So that's why I advertised that course here, because I want to see if you guys can make it go out of stock.
Hey, we'll definitely promote. I mean, if you want us to really, we'll keep promoting it. We'll make it so it goes out of stock.
Well, we'll talk
Chris
about
number
that.
17.
There it is, right there. Make sure you sign up right now. I'm going to put the link in the chat, so make sure you click that and sign up. Let's make it so he has a full and complete classroom worth of people waiting to get this course.
Yeah.
So,
I only see 3 people signed up. I must be doing something wrong.
There you go. Chris number 17 asks about that
Chris number 17
DR. Yeah, there's a lot of Chris's on tonight. We were joking about that in the chat. So
I see that.
So Chris number 17 asks about the FT70DR. I'm not familiar with that radio. Are you? You have one, I assume, right?
Oops, I can't do that.
That's what he's referring to. He sees the box. I am one of those. Look, I'm a messy desk kind of guy for some reason. Look what I just picked up too. You're gonna love this one. An ICOM R1.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, wow.
Remember these things?
Yeah, I use R5s. I've got a couple R5s. It's pretty cool.
You mean one of these?
Yeah.
I'm trying to talk myself out of the R6, but I actually picked up that R1, and it was brand new in the box. It had everything. It even had the antenna. It had everything into it, and I ended up finding on another sale somebody was selling an ICOM R1 with the desktop charger.
Oh, gee.
And he goes, it doesn't work. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll bid $35-$40 because the desktop charger is worth it to me. Well, these ICOM R1s were notorious for needing an EEPROM flash before you turn them on. It was on page 2 of the manual. So when I got the one for a couple bucks, I just held the 2 buttons and turned it on. Whoop, 144.000 right there on the display. I'm like, now I got 2 of them.
Wow.
So that's not an SDR-based radio, though, right?
Oh, absolutely not. No,
No, okay, I don't know. I'm not that big on Yaesu, so.
No. It's the Yaesu
Okay.
here is it's the Yaesu Fusion radio. I picked it up because I've got that disease, right? So I just was looking for something else to kind of scratch a little bit of an itch. It's over there charging on the display off screen, and I've only put my local fire department in there. That's as far as I got with it. Luckily, the guy that I bought it from was a local ham, and he loaded it up. So all I got to do is put it into that mode. But I haven't really played with it out of band at all and like that to see how really it would work. So
cool.
But it's another cool radio.
All right, so there's another one of our Chris's mentions. This is Chris number 38, I think it is.
Well, you got to name them by the letters: Chris A, Chris B, Chris C,
yeah,
Chris D,
Chris PT. Yeah. Spoilers on what you like better between Close Call and Spectrum Sweeper. So that's more of a scanner thing versus an SDR thing.
Chris must he must know something I don't know, because that's actually next week's podcast.
Oh, okay. Did you have it published that you're going to be talking about that?
So last week I talked about Uniden's Close Call. This week I talked about Whistler's Spectrum Sweeper and Signal Stalker.
Right.
Next week I put them head to head. I think. I don't know. I record these now a couple weeks in advance, so I had to remember where I am because I'm recording them now to release 2 weeks from now. So if this week's episode was about the Whistler Signal Stalker, then next week is putting them head to head. And I do have a verdict, but I'm not going to tell you here because I got the podcast.
You got to watch to be it. That's right.
And actually, if you guys aren't into the podcasting, what I started doing too is my YouTube channel now has every single podcast. So if you were one of my subscribers, I apologize because I uploaded 150 videos over the weekend. But every podcast episode now also goes to YouTube. So no offense to you guys, but what I normally do with your show is I'll put it on 2X and I'll listen to it as I'm doing other things. So I figured that if I'm doing that with you, listening to it, it's a YouTube thing. I listen to it as it's a podcast. Maybe some other people would listen to a podcast on YouTube and do the exact same thing. So I'm experimenting with that right now.
All right, so you got to watch your show to get that info. So Ron, one of three people on the chat that is not named Chris, sent me a message the other day about the new Home Patrol 3 because he knows that we're beta testing for Uniden. So the new Home Patrol has been making the rounds in the Secret Squirrel channels, and I think we've got a picture of it coming up here. So you've seen it here first. So if Jonathan can work his magic and get that, is
this an April Fool's or is this a real deal?
Well, I'm not quite sure what to make of it, but it's let's see. Are you going to be able to get that? Yeah,
I'm looking at it.
Yeah, he's debating whether or not he wants to display it.
Hold on,
Well, it's your show, so.
But he asked if this is SDR based, and you never know. I mean, Uniden's already done SDR based radios with the SDS, and you never know what might be coming out for the next version of the Home Patrol. But there are a lot of concepts out there.
Yeah, I mean, this definitely would be the model that you would certainly put in the kitchen. That would definitely be a good spot for it because it does have some things that are needed.
Yeah,
there.
And a lot of people buy the Home Patrol to put them in the kitchen too. So
that's where mine is.
Yeah, or even on the dining room table. I mean, that would be it. I mean, this looks very familiar from what we've been working on. There it is right there. Let me just blow this out so we can take a gander at it. As we can see the salt and pepper shakers there, and it's Fat Boys products.
See, I was expecting you to say it receives microwave.
Well, I'm sure it might, but I'm sure it keeps the kitchen warm. But literally, this was on an ad selling a Home Patrol. So Rod thought this might be the upcoming Home Patrol 3 that people have been rumoring about. So there you go.
There's the ad right there.
Yeah.
Nice.
$300 and it can be yours.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yep, and it keeps your salt and your pepper warm.
And it's only been listed on Facebook for 23 weeks. So
I was watching. Somebody had on eBay too. They had a couple of radios, and they listed them for like well over the price. I guess they were just staging on eBay. So it was like you can buy a Bearcat BCT8 for $9,000 or something like that. It was one of those crazy deals.
Yeah. Well, this has got the built-in waffle maker. So if you're familiar with the SDS discussions on Radio Reference,
I like too that if you move the salt and pepper that way, you can actually put a personal pizza in there.
Yeah, there you go.
The crazy thing that Uniden moved away from the touchscreen display. I mean, I guess that was just costing too much, and they just got rid of it. Completely.
Yeah, they just get rid of all the buttons.
All the buttons. Just a couple of switches.
Well, it works like everything else. You just say, "Hey, whoever it is, hey, Home Patrol, tune in to
the
brand new Alexa."
Yeah.
Now everybody's thing just turned on. Nice job.
Hey, Alexa, turn on the scanner, guys. We did that at our computer club meeting. I got up there and I said, "Hey Siri, play some music." And about 14 or 15 iPhones started playing music. It was great. So, Chris I think it's Chris number 37, says he's got an RTL-SDR, but he's wondering if he should grab the Airspy to get the 10 megahertz width. So you were talking before, that's the amount of spectrum that it can display in the waterfall, right?
That's correct. Yeah, that's what it can look at. Now, again, you can break these down into 5 or 10, and it all depends too how much horsepower you have, right? Because again, your computer is doing the work. This is just the black box interface between the air and the computer, right? This is basically just your tuner.
Yeah.
So your computer has to have enough horsepower in order to do something with the 10 megahertz in order to process it. And if you have an older computer, it's going to really slow itself down. And it's funny, Evan's saying, "John, can we bring up this old house?" And that's exactly what I feel like. Ask this old house. And this, when the two of you guys said your name and I said mine, I feel like, welcome back to this old house.
That was last week. Yeah, that's fun with the scanner guys. We're going to really see how much Rich's pop culture. What time is it? We're in second hour, so I can kind of go off the rails a little bit. I'm going to ask you.
Really on them tonight?
I'm going to ask you. Hold on, let me just pull this graphic off. Bob Ross. Do you know who he is?
Yes.
Phil. Who
doesn't know who Bob Ross is? Bob Ross is the guy he's the painter guy.
Well, you wouldn't believe there's a certain party on this show that does not know who Bob Ross is.
I don't.
Where were you?
This was a discussion last week.
Under a rock, I guess.
It must have been a pretty deep rock.
Yeah. I mean, Jonathan asked me about that earlier. There was some girl from a TV show. I had no idea who she was. Kaylee Cuckoo was her name? Coco? I don't know. I didn't know who this girl was, but.
Phil, his problem, he doesn't even know what the Big Bang Theory show is.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I don't know who Kelly Cuckoo is.
Well, I know. I didn't know what it was. I'd never seen the show. I don't watch TV.
Well, here's the thing, though. It's like you got to watch the generational gaps. You don't want to insult him and call him old by doing this. So we do this at my office, though, because it's all of us are kind of in our 40s, right? And we have one guy who's in his 20s. Hey, and we'll just quote these movie quotes, and that's what we do, right? And this one guy, he just sits there like, huh? And we're like, did you ever see that movie? What movie? Did you ever see it? And we made a list. I'm like, dude, you have to see these movies. And it was like, have you ever seen Airplane? I watch them fly. It's like, that's it. I'm done with you.
Yeah. Well, Airplane I've seen. I mean, that's a classic. If you have not seen,
the one guy hasn't seen Bob Ross.
Yeah. And Rush. I thought Rush was that goofy guy on the radio that has that talk show.
Yeah, and they were talking about Rush the band. I mean, Rich is like
Yeah, I was listening. The last music I went to listen to was Waylon Jennings, and he's been dead for 25 years.
I was going to say you had to crank up your phonograph in order to hear it.
Yeah, I had to get a new needle for my Victrola. Yeah,
It's great.
so. But now that I know who Kaylee Cuckoo is, I'm like, yeah, I wish I'd seen her before.
Kaylee Cuckoo. I don't think that's the way we pronounce her name, but we're going to let it go.
All right. No, I wish I'd seen her before because it's like, yeah.
Oh, just hope your wife doesn't watch this with a closed caption on.
Yeah. Well, she's never heard a word I said anyway. So.
Well, if that happens, Phil, you've got a new Wednesday gig.
Yeah. Yeah.
Podcast drops on Tuesday.
Rich drops on Wednesday. So, Dale's got a good question. AOR's AR-7400.
You mean not this one?
Yeah, that one too. So, yeah, I don't watch TV. I've got a swimming pool. I'll go out in the swimming pool in December. That's no problem.
Yeah.
Dale, that's a great, because we talked about that because I do a live thing on the first Tuesdays of the month, and this actually came up this past Tuesday. Don't know if you're the one who asked it, but the AOR AR-7400 was a 4-receiver SDR-based airband receiver from AOR, and the sad thing is, if you go to the AOR's website, there's not a trace of that radio being anywhere on there. Yeah. If you look online, you go back to Universal Radio, which unfortunately closed last month, or any other scanner radio website that kind of was previewing this device, you can get information about it, but you can't find it on AOR's website.
It was
on other radios that are coming soon, but not this one.
The information I saw on it was on their Japanese website, so it might have been intended for the Japanese market or brought up there. But
I think it was a physical product, though, too, right?
It was at a Japanese radio show. That's where they were demonstrating it. But it was an interesting product. Basically, it's 4 receivers built into a package with 4 speakers and 4 audio outputs, but they share a common antenna, and each one is displayed individually. And it'd be great for a small airport who has to monitor the tower channel, the ground channel, and the clearance channel, and then maybe a Unicom or something like that. So it's ideal. It'd be great for somebody like me who loves aviation monitoring. 4 channels would be perfect for me. I'd have the tower frequency for the airport space, the local Unicom channel, an air-to-air channel for the fighters. So I turned on Mike's HomePod when I said what I did to play some music. So I guess we got to be careful how we do that. So.
Oh my God.
So hey Siri, tell me a joke.
You.
Hey Siri, sing Happy Birthday.
Yeah. Oh, I got Hey Siri turned off on my phone, so. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, Greg says, "Don't call me Chris."
Yeah.
And
Shirley.
See. Yeah. All right, Shirley. So let's see here. I think we have pretty much killed the comment section too. Greg asks, with everything going encrypted, should he spend the money on getting a home patrol, or let's expand that out to getting an SDR? Obviously, an SDR, like a scanner, cannot decode encryption, so you can forget about that.
Okay.
And as far as encryption, that's one of the show topics that we're planning, is what to do when your local police have gone encrypted. Because there's a whole lot of other stuff to listen to. Oh, yeah. Are you doing that too? All right, Jonathan, let's do this next week. Let's beat him to the punch.
All right.
So,
my notes must be somewhere on the internet between the earlier question about which is the best.
Well, see, when you logged in, now we have access to your computer. We've already copied all
that's
your
why my
files.
computer wasn't working. You guys hacked into it.
We're just getting everything. Since we got a little bit of time here, and while people are...
Do we?
Yeah, we do. You guys, if you want to ask us, the 3 of us, questions, doesn't have to be on SDRs. You can ask us any type of scanner question in the comments. I've got a little segment here for our friend Rich that lives under a rock. Phil, you cannot help him at all. We have some people that are well known. I'm going to post the photo, and Rich is going to have to tell us who they are.
Uh-oh.
Here we go. Here's our first one. This one I feel like is a softball, but I could be wrong.
Is that Al Roker?
Yeah, that's Al.
Really?
1 for 1.
He's lost a lot of weight then, because he used to be a big guy.
Not up here.
No, that's why I said that. And at first I thought it was like Photoshop. It's like Al Roker's face on a skinny body.
No, that's Al Roker.
It is. Okay, well, hey, I'm 1 for 1.
Okay.
Yeah, he was the local guy here for a long time before he went.
He's the weather guy, right?
Yeah, what network? For bonus points.
I don't CNN. I don't know.
Oh my word.
You got you're close. You got 3 letters, but they're wrong.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's one of the big 3. The big original 3.
All right. Well, it's 3 letters. It's not unnecessary.
It's a nationally broadcasted company. Which one is it?
I don't know.
He just gave it away.
Oh, okay. NBC. All right. The Blue Network.
Yeah. Oh my word.
If you're of a certain age, that's the Blue Network, by the way.
All right. So our next one doesn't have as much of a track record as Al Roker, being in the industry as long as Al Roker, but this person is pretty much all over the place, whether it be in radio broadcasting or television.
I can't figure out how this guy got to where he is, though. To me, that's mind-boggling.
Yeah. That I have no clue. Sorry. Is he hearing impaired? He's got a hearing aid, or is that just a?
That is IFB.
Oh, okay. I have no idea who that is.
Does it make a difference?
Not really.
Ryan Seacrest.
Out.
Okay. And what does he do?
He's done the. He's on.
He looks like a game show host or something, you know.
Oh well, he's on.
Dick Clark. He's a new Dick Clark, basically, right?
Yeah, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. For the when the ball drops, he's
you know what
on.
Dick Clark is, though, right, Rich?
Yeah. Dead.
Okay.
Right? Isn't he?
Yeah, he's dead. That's who he is.
There was there was some comedian who did a bit on comedians you thought were dead. And yeah, she'd be talking about these comedians, or not comedians, but people, actors and people you thought were dead, and she'd be talking about these people, and that guy's still alive. Yeah. So I don't know, is Dick Clark still alive or not?
No, he's not. He's passed away. That's why Ryan Seacrest is the new Dick Clark.
Okay. The world's oldest teenager. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got your next one coming up right now. This one you won't know either, I'm sure. Hold on 1 second. I can't believe we're doing this.
It's the same guy.
Phil, is it the same guy?
This guy annoys the heck out of me, to be honest with you.
All right. I no, I'm sorry. I don't.
Jimmy Fallon. He's the host of the Tonight Show. Who was the?
That was Johnny Carson before, right?
Yeah. Who was after Johnny Carson?
The guy with the chin. Leno.
Cars.
Jay Leno. Yep.
Yeah.
During the time when Jay Leno was hosting a Tonight Show, who was on CBS for their late show?
I don't know. Walter Cronkite. I don't know. CBS.
Teeth.
Who? I don't know. I
Gap in his teeth.
I got a gap in my teeth.
You weren't on CBS.
No. I was on Channel 9 for a while. Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. I know who you're talking about. The guy, he's got a beard now.
He's got a big beard now. He looks like Santa Claus.
Yeah, Letterman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So that covers that. What's a comedy show that airs on Saturday nights on NBC? What is the name of that show?
I don't know. I don't have a TV. I don't have a TV subscription, so I don't.
It's been on for years.
It's broadcast. You don't need a TV subscription. It's over the air.
I don't. We can't. Where I live, we can't get OTA television.
A lot
You
of
can get everything else on your radios, but you can't get TV.
No,
Or anything.
there's a mountain range between me and Phoenix,
but
and there are no TV stations that we can pick up here.
There's a lot of comedians were discovered on this show.
What, Saturday Night Live?
Oh my God! Finally, jeez.
Oh yeah, well that's been around forever. I used to watch that when I was a kid.
But you could.
Bob Ross.
Yeah, I mean that was on when I was in high school. Before you were probably born, Jonathan.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we used to watch that on Saturday nights because we were finally allowed to stay up that late. You know.
Oh my word.
Of course, we had a black and white TV at the time, so. I'm sorry. I'm just not up with the with the current pop culture because, like I say, I don't watch TV, and it's even before I moved out here. I didn't have time. I was always doing something else. Well,
Yeah,
I mean, I've been out here for 6 years. Yeah.
Do you spend any time on Facebook?
I check, and if I've got any notifications, I'll check that. I'll post something every once in a while.
I mean, if you just look at a video, and then once you're done watching that video, it's going to load other videos in. You would end up seeing Ryan Seacrest, even without even TV, depending on things will pop up.
All right. No, I'm sorry. I just I just don't watch, a lot of that kind of stuff. And the only TV stuff I watch is on Netflix or Hulu.
Yeah, but I don't think anything that Jonathan's shown you has been anything that you would need to known for the last 10 years. It's not that pop.
Yeah. Well, he sent me a link to some show about, what was that, Living Under a Rock or something like that?
Yeah.
He was giving me a hard time on that, yeah. And I didn't know what there were these two women on that video, and I had no idea who either one of them was. So
I feel the same way about radio. I have no idea who any of the songs are.
Oh yeah,
I can't.
It's such a wasteland nowadays. So and the music these days. I mean, the only music I listen to are the local oldies shows.
It's on your phonograph.
Yeah. My Victrola, yeah. Crank it up. Yeah. I got to get a new needle though. My needle's busted.
You got that big horn you can listen to?
Yeah. And I can turn it which way, yeah. But even my wife can hear that, But it's just not what I do, and we cannot pick up over-the-air television out here. So where I live, if you're familiar with Phoenix at all the TV stations broadcast from South Mountain, which is 20 miles south of downtown. And if you're in downtown Phoenix, you look to the south, you see this kind of red glow on South Mountain for all the radio towers up there. And it's just this red kind of pulsing glow. And then where I live 60 or 70 miles northwest of Phoenix, and there's a mountain range between me and Phoenix, so I can't get any TV stations. So only one time I was able to pick up a TV station, and that was coming from Flagstaff, which is 150 miles north of here, and there was some sort of tropo thing going.
All right.
Gotcha. I see Smokey's got a question, too. I tried to answer him on my phone when you guys were trying to figure out who was who in the real world. I guess it didn't post, but Smokey, you can go to scannerschool.com. That's where I kind of keep everything. The podcasts are on iTunes and Stitcher and iHeartRadio, and you can ask your Amazon smart device to play them. I don't want to say it out loud because I don't want to get anybody else in trouble. So the podcast is pretty much everywhere. YouTube channel, if you go to scannerschool.com/YouTube, it'll take you right over to the channel. But I'm pretty much at Scanner School everywhere. So.
Okay, so the next one, I got another one for you, Rich.
All right.
The slide, you have to identify the actor. It's a photograph of the same actor playing different roles and what movie each photo is from.
Okay.
And, you ought to know this.
Yeah, that's the guy who played Forrest Gump. I think that's the first picture.
What gave it away, right?
Yeah. Hanks, right? Tom Hanks. Thomas
Okay.
Hanks, whatever. Yeah. I don't know what the Army show was. And I'm thinking, oh God, the sweater. That looks like that guy that had the kids show.
What was the question again?
Not Dr. Seuss. The hell? What?
It's
Oh,
very neighborly. Mr.
Dr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers. Yeah.
Dr. Rogers.
Yeah. He was on Sesame Street or something like that, wasn't he?
No, he came after Sesame Street.
Oh, okay.
He had his own show.
Oh, okay.
Mr.
Yeah,
Rogers' Neighborhood.
Yeah. And I'm not sure what
Dr.
the
Rogers.
picture in the middle is from. Probably some Army flick or something. Yeah.
So, Jonathan, what was the question? Just to know
So
who
he
the
was
actor
a-
was who played all three roles, or would you have to actually define what the three roles were?
Well, I just needed to know what movies that Tom Hanks were in. First, he had to discover Tom Hanks. So Forrest Gump, Saving Private Ryan, and the Mr. Rogers in the Neighborhood movie that he was in. I can't remember the name of the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is when you were a kid, PBS, was you should have. I mean,
Well, he was in a show when I was probably I don't know, junior high school or high school. I think his first big show was was a TV show where he dressed up in drag and
Yep.
to live in this all girls dormitory or something like that.
Bosom Buddies.
Yeah, that's what it was. And I don't know who the other guy. There was another guy in there, but I remember that show being out there. But that was it.
oh my word.
Yeah. So, Saving Private Ryan. Oh, that's the one where they go in to get the guy on D-Day or something like that, right?
Yeah, he was the one of the only brothers that wasn't killed so they brought him home.
Okay, yeah, I didn't see it, but I remember reading about it. So,
So I ruined it for you. Spoiler alert. 20 years late.
All right.
was it that long ago? Okay.
Next slide, you have to name the television series, what the name of the television series, and you have to name at least two of the actors on the in the photo.
Stump Richie night tonight.
Well, we're doing good.
Brace yourself. Don't get too excited.
Okay. I know this. When I was in England, this was the biggest show on TV. Oh God. Oh, they run up and down the beach all the time.
In slow motion.
Yeah. I know the show, but I don't remember the name. I think that one girl is the Tool Time girl from Home Improvement.
Yeah.
And I don't know who the other ones are, but I think that's Pamela Anderson, right?
Yep. Pamela
Yeah.
Anderson.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have no idea who the rest of them are, but that was.
Can I give him a hint?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh God.
Think about Knight Rider. Have you seen the show Knight Rider?
Oh yeah, Kit. Not Kit, but the guy, the driver. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Because I had a Ford Mustang and it had a hood scoop, kind of like the Knight Rider car did. And I had a buddy of mine in the Mustang Club who actually put red lights going back and forth on his Mustang, which I know wasn't the Knight Rider car, but it did look like that. No, I don't know the guy's name, but when I was in England, back when this show was big, every time you walked into a pub, that was playing on the TV.
Yeah, the show is pretty
So.
popular here too. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, gee, I'll give you a couple of good guesses.
All right.
6 good guesses in this picture.
I was gonna say
David
2, 4, 6.
Hasselhoff is the name that you're trying to think of.
Okay. All right. I don't know who the other people are. So
There's Yasmin Bleeth, right? And I don't know who anybody else is.
I don't know who the other ones are. Those are the two that I.
Yeah. Baywatch. Yeah. Baywatch. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
All right. So you claim that you're a country boy.
Yeah.
Now you need to name the two people that are in this photo, and you also have to name a song that they sang. Each one.
All right.
I can't believe we're doing this tonight.
Oh yeah, Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers.
right.
Coat of Many Colors and The Gambler and about a bunch of other ballads. So,
What
yeah,
song did they sing together?
Oh God, they had a bunch of duets. They did like 2 or 3 albums together.
Something. It's one that has a song about land masses.
Islands in the Stream or something like that.
Yes,
or Islands in the Sky or yeah. She's like the Pamela Anderson of country music, back in her day.
I wonder why.
Yeah. So Kenny Rogers. He was more. He started off as a rock singer. What Condition My Condition Is In? That was a rock song, and then he turned country when Urban Cowboy came out, and he made it big in that. He had a band called the First Edition, I think.
Yeah, I'm not certain on that.
Now, have you ever been to Dollywood?
I haven't. I know it's close to here.
Yeah, it was on my list of places to go, but we never got around to it.
You'll have to go and visit her.
Yeah, Phil, is this what you signed up for tonight?
Yeah.
Hey, we made it an hour and a half before we got into Stump Richie night tonight.
I'm gonna start pulling a Jonathan.
Oops, I better do that while it's on screen. Hold on one second.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
So what's the future of SDRs?
Yeah.
Phil, while he's working on that.
Yeah, again, we talked about that earlier. I mean, it's who knows? I mean, I think even though this has been around for quite a while, I'm going to say that we're still ground floor here. I think that there's a lot coming out. You have SDR++, SDR Sharp, DSDPlus. You've got all these weather satellite software. You've got Unitrunker. It has morphed from working off of Unitrunker morphed off of working off of tapped scanners and using discriminated taps to using SDRs, right? Things are evolving to use this. I think, again, and the software that was out there that was clunky is now getting really polished. And I think we're getting to that point now where something is going to just go, and we're going to find them.
Do you think USB-C is going to affect things, allowing more power to go to the device? And that was Elton John, by the way, if I was correct.
I mean, I've got my USB-C to, But again, let's go back a bit. We didn't touch on this really that much. So we're Windows world, right? We were talking about before about things being involved with Windows and having the software for that. And we talked about being a Mac world, right? But we failed to touch on is SDRs work on Mac. There's software out there for the Mac to be used SDRs. There's software out there for Linux, right? Mm-hmm. We talk about Raspberry Pis, but there's native software. If you're a Ubuntu user, you have at the repository software available to you to use SDRs. In fact, it's the same software you'd use on your Mac, by the way. Yeah. And then you can compile OP25, and so there's things out there. It's a cross-platform type of hardware, whereas your scanners themselves, you have to have a Windows-based program, right? You can't program your Uniden or your Whistler on a Mac unless you're using Parallels. Right. But these devices, they work natively, right? Yeah. In all three environments that are out there that are popular. So that's what
that's why I asked about the USB-C, since now you're talking about lots of power delivery capabilities. That brings up the possibility of more stuff that you can do without having to have outboard power for your for your USB device. So I think that's going to be an exciting concept if they ever run with that.
Yep. And again, so you got to remember though, I mean, we're still looking at micro USBs on these things. I don't know if some other SDRs have gone over to USB-C, but radio, at least in the scanner world, has been kind of slow to adapt things, in my point of view, only because of the pushback they get, right? A lot of people don't move into scanners really quickly when they upgrade, usually, unless you've got the disease that we have, where something comes out, boom, we're on top of it, right?
Yeah.
And, just look at the cell phone world right now. Getting people to leave micro USB or lightning connectors to get over to USB-C, that's a pain in the neck. And now all of a sudden, my MacBook only has USB-C on it. Everybody, oh, great. Of course, now you have to go out and buy little adapters, right? Could you imagine doing that, right, with the scanner world? It's bad enough when you have radios. When we still have radios with serial ports in the back of it.
Yeah. Well, look what happened when Uniden went to an SMA port on the 396. Everybody freaked out because they don't have SMA connectors, and and then with the SDS, now you had to buy a special SMA antenna. So
then you go back to the 325 and it's BNC again.
Yeah. And then there was the whole thing where Uniden couldn't move away from serial, and there was a long time that we were dealing with serial. I mean. I remember,
up to the XT.
I remember when I started working at Scanner Master. What came in the box was a serial cable. A lot of people asked, "What was that for on a 15X or a 996?" I said it can program your scanner if you have a serial connection on your computer, but you can use it to clone radios, and that was my reasoning behind it. You plug into the rear of one radio, you plug into the front of the other radio.
And when's the last time you had a computer with a serial port?
Well, I do, because I build them that way intentionally.
Yeah, but you can't buy them. You can't buy them with a serial port. And I remember back in the day. I can remember back in the day buying 4 serial port adapters or CF cards, or not CF cards, but PC cards to go in there. So you could get them, but nowadays you can get them, but you got to pretty much do it yourself.
Well, I still have the edge ports, and the edge ports were basically it's a hub that has 8 serial ports on it, and then it goes over the USB-B connector that's square that goes into the back of your computer. And that's what I use. All my Unidens are plugged into that because I still use serial over that, and then I guess on a new computer I'll just put a USB hub on there or something like that. But
and don't get me started about SCSI. Thank God scanners never got into SCSI. So have you ever tried to figure out a SCSI chain?
That's why I didn't buy that Pro 2006 I saw on eBay, because I saw the SCSI port in the back, and I went, that's disgusting.
SCSI is disgusting, And if you're an old Mac guy, you know all about SCSI, and it's a whole nother world of stuff that you don't want to get into.
Yeah.
I mean, just looking at the hobby, so much has changed, over the last couple decades. Just from cabling to, right now, for the most part, you have the same cable that you could use for your TRX-1 that you can use for your 436. In case you just have the one cable on your desk, you can go back and forth in between manufacturers. Before, you really couldn't do that.
Well, and then Uniden throws you a curveball and puts out the SDS200 with a micro USB cable, which is different than everything else that they've been selling. So, they try to get things standardized, and then they throw you that curveball out there.
It's just again that would have been an opportunity to go USB-C also, but I think that came out before the USB-C was really starting to be as popular as it is now. Because again, that radio now that's what, 2 years old at this point, right?
Well, the way it's going to happen is 5 years after the last computer with the USB-A port on it comes out, Uniden will come out with a USB-C scanner.
But again,
these are with the XT series, so.
Right, but these are proven, right? This is part of the R&D they don't have to do, right? This port works. We just take this part of the design out and drop it into the new one. That's one less thing they have to worry about when they do it.
Right.
Again, we had with the SDS200. Now we've got the LAN port. Oh, it's in the front. Yeah, it's in the front.
But and it's upside down.
Right, but the stuff that comes out of it is pretty cool for what it does. So we do have things moving forward. It'd be really cool to see some more radios that interface like that. It'd be cool to see a radio that's built like the TRX2, where it's got a detachable faceplate or the ability to take the plate off and like the old 7, that kit that you guys used to sell, the 780 kit or the RH96 or something like that. I mean, the best solution now is to run an app on your phone. Okay, well, even maybe if something like that were to come along. But again, you want the SDR. You have touch SDR, where you can take your tablet and you take a USB-A port that plugs into the bottom of your tablet, whatever it happens to be, and now your tablet is your SDR receiver.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking of it. If Uniden wanted to beat it, kind of beat some of these people to the punch, is Home Patrol 3, making an SDR with a touchscreen.
Yeah.
I mean, the form factors. Yeah. And that too. But yeah, I mean, the Home Patrol 3, with a touchscreen display, making an SDR, make it available so it's able to do DMR, Next Edge, and of course, could throw in Pro Voice in there too.
Right.
I mean,
that's what I was saying before.
Yeah.
Is somebody's going to come along with something that's going to be handheld. And again, an SDR with a Raspberry Pi with a touch screen that has a battery pack on it and a speaker. I mean, you're at that point. Somebody can roll this up and put it in a package almost at this point. It's going to be clunky, but we are one step outside of, the wheels are still square on the automobile, right? It hasn't been fine-tuned yet. It will roll down the road, but it's not going to be an enjoyable ride. You can build your own handheld or desktop USB SDR touchscreen Home Patrol 2.5 or something like that, right? and you can roll your own. I mean, somebody is going to take that, and like I said, they're going to kick the legs out from underneath the big two.
This is the cottage industry of the decade.
And that's what's going to end up happening is, let's say this person presents their, the clunky thing, and then then another company will swoop in and say, all right, we'll make it look pretty. We'll put that clunky thing into an actual housing, and then there you go. I mean, you're going to have a phenomenal product. I mean, it didn't take. I mean, we were looking at the AirNav box. Yeah, that's I mean,
some guy developed that type of thing in his garage and commercialized it.
Yeah,
and a lot of these things started as some cottage industry that filled a niche, and it grew into an industry. And I mean, look at computers 50 years ago or 40 years ago, and these accessories. So I remember that company, Metro West, that sold scanner accessories. They sold desk chargers and batteries and stuff. For a while, they were doing really great with that, filling that niche, and they had a great market for that. And maybe somebody will come up with those type of SDR-based devices.
Yeah, I don't know what the next decade will hold. I mean, I feel like we're well overdue for Whistler to present something to the table. I did see somebody ask about, are you able to say anything about the Unication scanner at this point?
I haven't been told to not say anything, and I haven't been told to say anything. I did question it, and the one thing I can say, because history has shown this to be truthful, is that sometimes you'll find things on the overseas website way before they were ever ready to be developed, to be released, or they were good ideas that were put online and nothing materialized.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of examples that Unication had with that. They had a two-way radio. They had a desktop version of the pager. I know they were asking for feedback on a multi-band antenna, right? They have new firmware out there that's going to give you more functionality as a scanner. And I can say these things because it's out there, right? Yeah. There's been things like that. When it comes to this, I asked about that, and the answer I was given was that, basically it's, you're not the only one to ask about this. We're getting flooded with emails about this today. Taiwan shouldn't be putting things up, that aren't available. And that was it. So whether or not it comes out, I mean, it would be awesome if it does for me, because, hey, I sell pagers. And I'm into scanning. So for me, if this product ever comes out, this is like my holy grail product, because now I'm selling as a pager and I'm putting it on the podcast. And now I'm back in competition with you guys. So
but friendly competition,
But essentially,
no, I mean, yeah.
But essentially, you know, I mean, we dropped not we, but Scanner Master dropped the Unication product line because of the SDSs. Now you're selling the Unication radios. Have you seen a pretty good trend of them selling this year, even though that it's in a world where there's an SDS 100 and 200?
Holy cow. I am right now so busy selling these pagers that I am actually having a problem keeping them in inventory. That is how. Now, again, I don't know if it's because the promotions that are running right now are absolutely ridiculous for what you could buy a pager for. If you want to check out the pricing, just go to my website, eastcoastpagers.com. And they also include the 5-year warranty. So it's one of these deals that, is it because it's the holiday season? Is it because of the price points? Is it because I just launched a new website and it's completely redesigned, and now all of a sudden I'm firing on all cylinders because, you know, all three things have just aligned for me? But I am selling a ton. Add your adjective to the beginning of these things.
A literal boatload of them.
And when I try and get more, they're back ordered. So there is an issue with trying and get them in there. And I can literally say I have sold close to 500 pages this month. Wow. So I had a couple of good sales that add to that. These weren't 500 customers, but I had a really, really, really strong quarter on these things. And
these are great receivers. I mean, Jonathan and I both have one, and they are fantastic. They're not intended for the kind of not the lightweight, but the casual scanner person.
Right.
You're much better off with an SDS for the scanner for that.
And again, I had somebody call me tonight who asked me about, you know, they were interested in a G4, and I talked to her on the phone because it was a gift for her husband, and I said, look, I don't think that the Unication pager is the right solution for what you're telling me. I said, I'm not going to sell this to you, you know, based on what you're telling me. I think that you should look at a Uniden product. And I gave her, you know, a couple things. I said, look, you know, talk to your buddy, call me back, and I'll give you a reference. And again, I always give anybody who's looking for a scan, I always drive up to you guys anyway. And it's just one of these things. It's like I won't sell a pager with somebody who's looking for a scanner, because these, while people are using them for a scanner, they're a pager, and they right now they are pagers with the ability to do more than your typical pager. Which again, 16 channels of conventional and scanless, but you can't mix conventional and trunking. You can't mix multiple sites on it. This stuff is all being in the works. It's all working, you know. But again, multi-band doesn't exist in the sake. Whereas a scanner radio user, because you can't do VHF, UHF, and 800, it doesn't exist. You have to pick which one you want. So, but if you live in a world where it's good enough for you to have UHF and 800, or just one band, or just 700, 800. There's plenty of places out there where that is a great solution, and it's a commercial grade product at a really tangible price for a lot of people. And would I take this out over my SDSs? 1,000 times yes, because this is a commercial based product. It feels like one. It weighs like one. You know what I mean? It's not light, and it's not field programmable, and you have to sit down with their software and set it up. And
within its limitations, it's a great product.
Yeah, and
that's exactly it. If you can live within the limitations of that, it really is a great product. And I sell a lot of them to people who want them for scanners. I sold a couple this week to guys that just want them as scanners. They don't want them as a paging product. The paging product for them is a bonus. Because now I could put it in my own department, and keep it quiet at night, and just stored voice the calls that come in.
Yeah, and on the other end of the spectrum, as it were, the people that buy these Baofengs and Woshins and other cheap Chinese radios are, thinking that they are, ideal for scanning. And how come I can't pick up the Starcom digital system on my Woshin or my Baofeng? Well, that's not what it's intended for. So
right.
I gotta say, go ahead.
No, good, John.
No, go. Your show.
I've got to say, I've got to say that I really didn't use this a lot in Massachusetts, the Unication, because it just wasn't a lot of digital. Down here in the Carolinas, being, in the Charlotte metro area, everybody's on a trunk system. This thing is the bomb down here. I mean, I'm able to, I have my local county on the first group, and then I have other towns broken out into other groups on the scanner. So as I travel, my wife's car does not have a scanner in it. So I'll grab this.
You got to get a new wife.
No, I don't mind carrying this. I mean, this is portable, works great, and the thing is, I remember, going into it, if I went into a store with a scanner, listening to a trunk system, with that metal roof, you would lose signal. You would not hear it. I'm just blown away, because of the sensitivity on the Unication radio and the SDSs. I'm just blown away being in the middle of a big box store and getting that building saturation where, with an older radio, Uniden or Whistler or GRE at the time, you couldn't get that. It's just phenomenal.
I look at it this way too. In New York, right, you can't have. All right. So some people read the law one way, some people read the law the other way. We're not going to debate the law, right? But part of the VTL is having a radio in the car that can receive public safety bands. Mm-hmm. Whether or not having an amateur radio license gets you out of it is, everybody reads it differently. I read it my own way. So I don't have a scanner in my car because in New York that would put me in a position, right? If I ever got pulled over. Mm-hmm. This is a pager. I can bring it up and say this is a pager. And that's my argument. If anybody would ever question it, no, this is not a scanner; it's a pager. And you go online and it says Unication G5 pager. Yep. So that's a way of looking at it as well. That's that gray area where then you could take your Baofeng too, and it's not a scanner either; it's a two-way radio. Exactly right. That's the way the law is written. Yeah. Because that radio can receive out of band, even though it's made to transmit somewhere else. So, but it is a really good product. But again, I think I want to circle back to Rich, what you were saying about Whistler come out with something. Who knows if that's what happened with the TRX 100, 200 if they couldn't put things together. But with the way that SDRs are evolving and anything else, I mean, I would think that would be a logical step for Whistler to jump into, just like you said too with the Home Patrol 3 or whatever else. It's a great opportunity for them to come up with something different, because I think, again, SDRs is really where it's going to be, and I think it's going to save a lot of money on R&D and all this other stuff, because now they're designing everything. It's more software based, and as long as the software works.
Well, I hope they do come out with something, because even if you're a Uniden guy, you want Whistler to succeed, because what they push Uniden to the next level, and then that will push Whistler to the next level, and we all benefit because we're getting new and better toys. That's why GM is good for Ford and Toyota is good for Honda. It just, it pushes them to do better.
Too. I mean, that's the thing right now is I don't foresee Uniden coming out with anything new, that's going to be groundbreaking until Whistler comes out.
The SR30C wasn't groundbreaking enough for you?
No, I mean, I would take the 125 AT well over that one.
We talked about this, Jonathan and I talked about this a couple days ago with the SR30C is why? First off, It's no different than a BC75 XLT, except it's got 500 channels
500
versus
channels.
300.
Look, it didn't stop me from buying one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But, I mean, if you buy a 125, it's only $30 more, and you get the same amount of channels, but now you get PL and DPL decoding plus
you get more channels,
tags. No, it's still 500.
So 500.
I thought it was 300. Okay, that was a
No,
70 XLT.
Yeah, the 75 only had 300. And we were thinking what they really should have done is drop the 75 and just and drop $10 off the 125, and now you've got $115, $120 scanner that does everything that you could do for an analog scanner.
That's another mystery. Why that they have two radios in that category. Portable wise. I mean, the other thing too that's kind of, and it's got to be form factor, is the 355 or the 350. Has been around for ages. I mean, it's a tunable programming where you got to basically get to that frequency and then store it into a channel. The only thing
many of those.
I think the only reason that radio has stayed around because of its form factor.
It's a nice tiny size radio.
Yeah.
And they were easy back in the day too. To discriminator tap. I have a couple the BCT7s and the 350As, and if they had the 350Cs and 355s, and they were all pretty much the same. But one had 800 and one didn't have 800, and
right. Well, that's why I picked up a bunch of these BCT15s because I was grabbing those up when I find them because they were real easy to use with ProScan or ARC 15, and they fit into my usage category, and they were dirt cheap. So
Yep.
So, all righty. Well, what do you say? Yeah.
So
what's the big difference between the Unication pagers? Yeah.
Yep. So it's all a matter basically of the frequency bands you need. So the G1, it comes in several different splits. This is analog only. Okay. And this will give you splits from there's like a 33 to 36, and there's a 43 to 49. There's a low V8, there's a VHF, I think 138, then there's one that starts at 148, then there's a 455, and it goes up to 500 basically. But these are analog only. Once you break into the other brands, the G2s, G3s, G4s, G5s, this is where things become a little bit confusing for a lot of people. The G2 is single band. It's only going to be VHF. It'll be UHF 400 to 470 or UHF 450 to 512. You have to pick your frequency split when you buy the pager, right? It's only made for that. And the antenna on the outside is used to pick up the main band, which is the band you buy it for. The G3 looks exactly the same as everything else, right? With minus the antenna is different. The G3 is VHF, UHF. So it's either VHF plus UHF-C, which is 400 to 470, or VHF and UHF-D, which is 450 to 512. From there, you go to G4. Ta-da! G4.
There we go. We got you.
The G4 is only 700, 800. Nothing else. The antenna on the outside of the G4 is for 700, 800. The G5 gives you the same as the G4 with 700, 800, except you can pick, again, a VHF band or a UHF-C or a UHF-D. There's also a UHF-B band, which does 380 to whatever, but I don't think they sell them here, or they're special order. The trick is on the G5s is the external antenna is for 700, 800. The other band, VHF or UHF, is an internal antenna.
Right.
Other than that, they're all the same. It's just basically if it's single band, dual band, only 850, 700, 800, or 700, 800 with a secondary band. They all do analog. They all do P25. They all do Motorola timing or fast Plextron timing. And they all have an upgradability to DMR Tier 1 or Tier 2, which basically means it's conventional DMR. You're not going to do Capacity Plus. You're not going to do Connect Plus or anything like that with these pages unless you programmed in, just to scan these as conventional. You won't get.
Now, is that DMR a free upgrade or a paid upgrade?
No, you got to pay for the upgrade. So It's only a couple bucks to do. But what's nice too, if you plug into the amplified charger, then you have a BNC connector in the back. Then all of your bands go out the BNC connector, so you can plug it into your roof antenna or something like that. So a lot of people do that. They buy the pager with the amp charger. They get the benefit of having the base antenna. I know here that's how I test a lot of them out, because I can get onto all the trunk systems that are local, and it's so that's really the band differences. That's a big question. A lot of people have that question. So
very good.
But
and Jim commented the only guy that could explain Uniden's thinking is no longer with us. So it's been close to a year since Paul died, and he really was the brains behind the Uniden scanner stuff. And I wish
the architect.
Yeah, the architect. I wish that he would have explained how they came up, number one, with that particular scanner. Number two, how they came up with that name. And that's another thing we were debating the other day. I think it's SR and scanner radio, and the C is for conventional. And that's my thoughts, but who knows? It could have been just...
See, my theory on that radio is I think it's the Walmart radio.
Yeah.
Like it's the blister pack radio that if somebody wants to get into a scanner radio, they go to Walmart and they're going to buy that radio. Because, again, don't forget, Whistler also has bubble pack radios available at Walmart. Their entry-level one is available there. So I think they were just looking for something to place on that shelf.
Yeah.
And that's a good fit for that, because it's just somebody wants to pop in a bunch of frequencies, off to the races, doesn't even know what they see PL, DPL. I don't know what this is. I don't need it.
Right. And then we get the call. Because our phone number is 1-800-SCANNER. So they call us thinking
there's multiple flyers in there, just not to give it away.
That did it too.
Yes.
And they call us and say, how come this doesn't work on my local area? Well, your area's a digital trunking system, so bring it back to Walmart.
Right.
But
it's the same question that we get from people buying from the big online store.
Yeah.
We get that a ton. People buy the wrong scanner online, and they don't have they've got an analog or an analog trunking scanner, and they're in the digital world in their backyard.
Yeah. Yep. And we got to explain to them what the difference is, and then half the time they return the radio back to where they bought it, and then they call us back and order the right one. So
you gave them the service they needed. That's exactly what it is. You guys spent the time, and you cannot beat customer service like that. Right. I mean, it's so worth it. So
yeah, absolutely. So, well, hey, Phil, thank you a ton for being with us tonight. It was fantastic.
Thank you for having me back. I really appreciate it. It was fun the first time. It was that much more of a blast the second time, because we got to make fun of somebody. So
yeah. We just poked some fun at Rich. I mean, he pokes fun at me all the time. So it's nice to be able to poke some fun at him. What we're thinking of doing in the new year is we see on a lot of these news shows where they have a panel. We're thinking of doing the same thing with having you on and getting some other people from the scanner industry, to be on with us to talk about various topics. Cool. I think that would be something that we could totally do on here. We could, what I'm thinking is when we're working on this show, it'll be, Rich and I will come up with the segments and some of the topics, and then we'll do a roundtable discussion and what your thoughts are on, and then we'll go to the next guy or girl that's on the panel and ask them as well. I mean, I think that's something that we want to definitely work on to get some people on to do that, because we can have up to 10 people, on the screen.
We don't have 10 hours though.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely. That's why I'm thinking it would be very structured. We would structure it and then go from there. But
no stump Richie.
No stump Richie. But so once again, tell everybody, Phil, how they can pick up one of these radios to make you mad busy. Tell them the website and everything.
So you go to eastcoastpagers.com. That's my website where you can go ahead and you can buy the Unication pagers. And if you want to make me busy, that'd be great. We actually are kind of getting to the very end of the shipping time frame for the holiday season. it doesn't hit the UPS truck by the end of the week, it's probably gonna be too late. But we do have gift cards now. I just put gift cards on the website today, so for all you last minute shoppers, you'll be able to at least put something in a stocking or under a tree, or it goes in email. So you can pick the date you want delivered. So if you want to buy it today and deliver it on the 25th, that's a possibility. But so it's East Coast Pagers for that. That's where that's at.
And definitely, if you end up getting some Christmas money as well after Christmas, go to East Coast Pagers as well. I can vouch, unfortunately, Scanner Master doesn't sell these anymore. And in the environment that I'm in, I love this unit. So, unfortunately, I can't get it from Scanner Master anymore, but you can go to East Coast Pagers and get this. I mean, this is, if you're in a market where I have the G5, there's the camera there, the G5. But yeah, if you're in a market where there's tons of trunk systems, this is the ready to go with. I mean, you can basically program it out so you have everything set to region. So when you travel to a certain area, you just switch over to it and then switch back as you make your way back. I mean, I was sitting
64 zones in it too, so you can limit the zones to what you want to as you travel through it.
And I love it. Like the thing is I'm in the we'll go grocery shopping on a Saturday with my wife, and we'll bounce around a couple of different towns in the community. So I'll just switch the zone on the radio, and then bang, I'm listening to the town that we're in. But yeah, definitely check those out. The other thing that we want to make sure that we plug for Phil as well is the courses that are coming up that Phil's going to be working on for these radios, these software driven radios that the SDRs.
So go to.
Go ahead, Phil.
All right. You can go to courses.scannerschool.com, and that's where you can find the free course that we're putting the final touches on. So if you sign up there now, you're going to just see a little text page. There should have been a video, but my computer crashed, so I didn't get recorded video for you guys. But that's where that free course will live. And again, we're doing it on a course-based application so that everything is in order. It's not like YouTube where you get distracted off to the side or things come out of order. You can put notes in there and you can put check boxes and everything else. And the free course will lead into other things. And we have more courses planned. And we are going to try to get more course driven in 2021, as well as more workshop driven as well. So we do have more workshops coming. So if you go to scannerschool.com, there's a newsletter thing you can sign up there, and that'll give you all the information to sign up for the workshops we have coming up, monthly workshops. And if you don't mind, I'd like to plug at least the first two, if you don't mind on that.
Go right ahead.
All right. Hopefully not step 8. And if you guys are doing the same thing, that's great. Then it's double the learning, and you can learn from two different types of instructors. Because I'm sure my first course is something you guys are going to talk about really early too. Not my first course, my first workshop, but it's scanning in the year 2021. Everything you need to know to get started or get up to speed on how to scan this year. Because that's a big question. I've been out of scanning, or I don't know where to start, or everybody's in different locations, right? Different spots in their scanner radio hobby. Some people, like I said, they haven't touched it in 10 years, or they're just getting started. And we're going to go through everything. It's going to be a crash course from analog to PL to trunking to DMR, P25, differences between phase 1 phase 2. And it'll be a live webinar like we're doing here like this, with just me with some slides. But then the whole thing will be packaged up and brought over to our courses platform, where you can go through it module by module by module and take it again and repeat the modules that you've missed or you didn't understand. You can kind of replay those things. And then we're going to do another one where it's how to build your own scanner radio website. And that'll be probably for February. Now, again, it'll be how to get the domain name and how to register it and how to load up WordPress and how to get a hosting company, how to start putting content on there. And again, it's just to get things going, because again, Radio Reference is great. I mean, there's nothing against what Lindsay's doing. It's the Mecca. There's nothing that's going to ever come close to it. But a lot of people out there, they want to share on their own platform, and they want to put a home for themselves. And why not? I've got my own scanner radio website. It does not interfere at all with what anybody else is doing because it's so regionalized to just here. And a lot of the information you see just here is also repeated on Radio Reference. But I can also add my own stuff on there, like my own weather information or a feed from my camera. It's snowing outside. I can put my own camera feed on there. So there's a lot of more things. And again, I was talking with Chris Paris again because he's hosted on Blogspot or something like that, one of those blogging websites. And he's interested in moving off of there and onto something that he owns completely outright. So it's those kinds of things that we're looking at, doing. And so that's what we're looking at bringing. Again, courses for all the different radios as well. So it's, of course, the podcast will keep going and everything else. So it's going to be a busy 2021.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
don't buy pagers because I won't have time for this stuff.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, right now we're expanding as well. We're matter of fact, I can definitely show the slides. Let me just get through so we can wrap things up, and then plus I can plug it. Stupid scanner tricks. Make sure you email us at thescannerguys@gmail.com. thescannerguys@gmail.com. If you got scanner questions, give us a call at 1-800-722-6637. You can email us at support@scannermaster.com, and we're open Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's Scannermaster, and you can shop them online at scannermaster.com. Next week, it will be fun with the Scanner Guys. It'll be our Christmas Eve show, so make sure you tune in, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. We'll talk about various topics. We're also going to cover a little bit of a year in review as well of some of the things that we've kind of covered or done during the show. And make sure you check out the Scanner Guys swag at the scannerguys.weebly.com. You can purchase that through our website. That helps support the Scanner Guys. Now, this is what I was trying to get to the slide, is we've actually stretched ourselves a little bit more thinner, and we're hosting now 2 shows on YouTube. We're doing this show every first Monday of the month. This is where we cover rail fanning trains and all that business, and that's on the Train Aficionado YouTube channel. So we're excited to announce the new season, the 2021 season, will air on Monday, January the 4th of 2021, and thank goodness 2020 is almost over.
Yeah.
This has been one crazy year. Make sure you follow, like, and subscribe to all the social media for Train Aficionado, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. And then, always, Scanner Masters social media, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and the Scanner Guys. Same thing, but adding Instagram in there. But, yeah, I mean, this has been a lot of fun having you on the show. I mean, a lot of people have said, this is like all the Scanner Guy gods are on the screen right now for the most part. People that are either doing podcasts or videos in the industry. I mean, this is the place to turn to for either live or recorded information regarding the hobby, exclusively about the hobby, which is really crazy. I mean, you look at it, other than the Scanner Guys in the Scanner School, there's nothing that really compares to it where it's weekly content coming out each and every week.
Yeah. Mark has a question on there before we go about how to get a frequency on Broadcastify that's not listed on there. So if you understand how Broadcastify works, it's a bunch of volunteers who have a scanner, or in this case an SDR, connected to a computer, and they share that scanner audio with the Broadcastify site. So if there are no feeds for the system that you want to listen to, just keep an eye on the Broadcastify site, and hopefully soon somebody will have a feed, or create your own feed and send that into Broadcastify, and they can host that as well. So Mark is asking. I'm guessing if I understand his question right, somebody's hosting a feed and they're monitoring a frequency that may or may not be listed. I mean, definitely you can contact them as well. I've had people contact me when I had my feed for the Northeast Corridor, and they just drop me a note through the I believe it's through Spotify now, not Spotify, but
Broadcastify.
Right.
Broadcastify, through their platform. It's not like they're directly emailing me, but it's going through their system. And that was great. They asked me a question, I was able to reply back. I mean, they'll definitely. With a lot of the broadcasts, there is a notes page on the page. You may want to take a look there. A lot of times they list what frequencies, and sometimes they even put type of scanner that they're using and the antenna setup. So if you like the way it sounds, and you're curious about the reception, how they're getting good reception, they definitely have some of that information on the notes page. And Dale's asking about East Coast pagers. Do you have a swag store?
Not for the East Coast pagers. I have. If you buy something through me, I will throw a little something in there. I don't have any. Actually, I do. Hold on. That's my last stack. This is about as close as I have to swag. I got magnets that look like tugboats.
Yeah, you showed us that before.
This is Rev 1. After this stack here is gone, I got to order more, and I can look like tugboats. But yeah, this is as close right now as I have to swag. I thought about it. I got my shirts. I got a polo shirt I just had made up. We're getting there. And then also I got to bring back the Scanner School swag as well. I've got I had shirts and coffee mugs and all that stuff, and I took the store down because it interfered with something I had on the site. It broke the site. So I got to bring that back as well. So
how long have you been
cool
doing
you guys?
How long have you been doing East Coast pagers? How many years now?
Well, originally it started out on my parent company, Monitor Long Island. I was selling the pages through there, and I had to pivot. I had to separate them, and so I created maybe 3 years ago. I created East Coast pagers. So maybe 2. I don't know. It's a blur. It's been a while.
Yeah. Yeah, this whole year has been kind of a blur too. So
yeah, that's for sure.
It has been. It has totally been a blur. Maybe because we were mostly drunk. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, or floating.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Right. So, if do you have anything else that you want to plug before we depart?
But yeah,
just 3 water bottles. I've already filled this and emptied it again.
So.
Yeah. No, it's just you can catch the podcast on all the podcast players that are out there, Spotify, iHeartRadio, any name, iTunes, they're out there. You can ask your Amazon device to hey
blank,
whatever you want to call it, for the Scanner School podcast. That'll bring it up as well. The podcast releases every Tuesday. And so that's that. We're also releasing them to YouTube. You can catch me on the first Tuesday of the month. I do a live thing on YouTube where I answer just questions for 30 minutes. And then I spend the rest of the evening with my Patreon supporters. So we do a roundtable discussion with everybody who's on that level on Patreon. And and then I guess that's it. I don't know. Oh, and we do a Zello net. We do a weekly net as well every Tuesday night on Zello.
I got to say that you are juggling a lot of balls in between.
At least you've noticed.
In between, East Coast pagers, the Scanner School, everything you do with that, and then plus working full time during the day with your daytime gig. I don't know. And then now you're going to be doing these courses in 2021.
Well, I've already started mapping out this is what I have to do, and I'm starting to offload my stuff. So I've got 2 assistants that work for me now, and it's been really you're going to start doing this for me. You're going to start doing that for me now. You're going to do more of this for me now. So with the courses, I'm going to say, okay, this is the outline. You're going to make the slides, and I'm just going to tweak them at the end. You know what I mean? So it's that kind of stuff that I'm starting to get really good at delegating responsibilities. I wish my wife would do more stuff, but that's a whole other thing. But it is definitely a lot, and this is what's taken me so long to get the SDR class out, because I did a live workshop with it a year ago, actually a year and a half ago, and it just never materialized into its course that was supposed to be. So I'm really excited that at least now I got a splash page up, and it's taken people coming in now, and as soon as the content is good to go, boom, you'll start seeing it. So yeah, it's my mind is insane, and from talking to me how I'm bouncing all over the place when I speak. That's just, yeah. I keep a lot of stuff moving at once.
Well, we really enjoy this. Definitely you are official being second time on the show, so you are probably what we would say guest co-host status at this point, and a regular. So
okay. Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, we're definitely going to have you back on in 2021. I definitely want to. That's something that we'll talk about off air. Is some other people we like to bring into this roundtable discussion, just to be able to see who we can bring in. I don't think we'll bring in 10, but I like to bring in like enough people so we have a roundtable discussion. So that'll be
really cool. That's a great idea.
Yeah, just for us to be able to. And plus this platform where the video allows us to bounce to a slide, take a look at something, talk about it, and then we'll try to move it along so it's not a 10-hour show. But yeah, it should be definitely good. Scanner Master, just so people know, as Phil mentioned, if you haven't ordered, you need to order because the shipping window is closing. We're looking at...
It's already closed for programming orders, but for non-programming orders, it's getting close. So order tomorrow if you want to get it by Christmas.
Yeah, I would definitely say, order it tomorrow. And then if you want it to be sure that it's there, with the mail service is still sluggish. So with the Scanner Master website, probably choose UPS and then choose the appropriate amount of time. If it's ground is going to be sufficient enough, do that. If you think you're going to be cutting it close, do one of the other 3-day, second day, or next day. But that's a little tip that I would recommend, doing Scanner Master for the last, since 2008. I know a lot of people that have spent a lot of money on next day air when they really didn't have to. So, but yeah, I just want to thank Phil again for joining us. It's been a pleasure. I'm Jonathan Higgins.
I'm Rich Carlson.
And I'm Phil Lichtenberger.
All right, we'll catch you again next week on the Scanner Guys. So have a great week. We'll talk to you again. Good night.
Thanks again, guys. I appreciate it.
Bye, guy.